Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Welcome back to Outlaws, Gunslingers, with your hosts Bang and Dang, and attempting to wrap up part 3 of the Menendez brothers murder case, trial, murder, whatever you want to call it. We've already seen the upbringing that these guys went through, and then we went over the murders and them spending extravagantly up until they got caught and sitting in jail waiting on the trial, which we will get into right here.
Right.
And so far, these guys, after Eric being crazy and crying and couldn't hold it together, they're in jail and they're in the court, and he's all smirking and being a smart ass to the judge and stuff. So his attitude changed real quick, didn't it?
What was the other ones? Lyle,
yeah.
he was the one that was the
Mastermind guy.
right.
Yeah, but right now, basically, the trial is going to hinge on the brothers supposedly lying in wait to kill their parents, which could extensively mean the death penalty for them. So that's what the prosecutors are going to try to do. And we told you last week that the brothers have some big claims against old Jose, and we're going to hear all that play out with this one. Well, as they await trial, they're held at the Los Angeles County Superior Court located in the San Fernando Valley Government Center in Van Nuys. Judge Stanley Weisberg presided over the trial. He's the same guy that presided over the first Rodney King trial in suburban Simi Valley.
Sure was.
That trial had resulted in deadly LA riots, right? And he's like, yeah. Now he's like, we're not going to. See, now the judge biases too, because now he doesn't want to do anything that's going to disrupt, like unpopular sentiment. He's like, oh shit, my trial literally caused deaths and destruction in a city. I can't do that no more.
Right. May 14th, 1993, Judge Weisberg ruled that the cases of Lyle and Eric Menendez would be tried together. In the interest of time, cost, and convenience, they should be tried together. Weisberg saw that there would be an almost complete duplication of witnesses and arguments if separate trials were held for each brother.
Right, it'd be like the same trial.
The exact same. Weisberg ruled that each bro would have a separate jury. Okay, so separate juries, huh? This meant that if evidence that pertained only to Lyle was being heard, Eric's jury would be excluded and vice versa. Okay.
All right, yeah.
I dig that.
Okay.
I mean,
But then what if do the two separate juries then get together on the same evidence?
right, and I think one of them would get, say he would get 25 years and Eric would get 22 years or something.
Okay, well, we'll see how that works out.
Right.
Well, the court summoned 1,100 people for jury duty. Eventually, 2 panels of 12 jurors and 6 alternatives were impaneled.
Right.
Potential jurors were required to complete a 122-item questionnaire,
Dang, they went all out.
of which 15 questions were on the topic of child sexual abuse and violence within families.
Oh, shit.
Lyle's jury was selected first and consisted of 7 men and 5 women. Average age was 42.
Oh.
Eric's jury consisted of 8 men and 4 women with the average age of 46.
Okay, so pretty close together.
I don't know. It's skewing more towards the parents' favor because now you got a bunch of people on the juror that have kids probably that are around these ages.
Right.
You're telling me that they couldn't get no 20-something years olds? That be in these positions?
Right. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard. From the time of the bros' arrest until shortly after the trial commenced, Leslie Abramson and Jill Lansing had held their cards close to their chest and did not reveal what their defense strategy would be. I wouldn't either. All you gotta do is give up whatever evidence you have.
Right.
Bozanic wondered if Abramson and Lansing would use a defense that gambled that the prosecution did not have enough evidence to prove that Eric and Lyle had committed the moitas.
I don't think so.
During a pretrial hearing on the 9th of June, 1993, Abramson said the defense would admit that the bros had murdered their parents. Wow, the defense will admit it by the time they're done.
But what drove them to?
Right.
Well, the defense would try to prove to jurors that it was Jose and Kitty and not Lyle and Eric who should be held accountable for why the murders were committed. Abramson and Lansing would argue that the brothers had been instilled with feelings of fear over a long period of time going back many years. The athletic, spoiled, rich sons who had each one time in their lives considered becoming professional tennis players were going to be portrayed as victims of child abuse.
So they're trying
Not only child abuse, though.
Right. So it's not even a question of who killed them. The question is why.
Right. They're admitting that they were killed him,
Right.
but it's kind of like the
Right.
it's kind of like this the wife killing the husband
Right.
from years of abuse,
Child abuse, yeah. Or
Right.
child abuse.
domestic and child, right?
The Bros defense presented one obstacle, though. The Bros had never complained to their psychologist or anyone else about abuse. There was no medical evidence of abuse. There's no photographs of bruises. In other words, no history of abuse at all.
Right.
He said, she said bullshit. If this defense were to succeed, Abramson and Lansing would have to carefully reconstruct specific incidents of abuse that involved Lyle and Eric. And if I was prosecution, I'll be going over these stories 100 times, asking them the same questions over and see if you get the same answers. 'Cause you know how that goes. Mm-hmm. In order for the prosecution to prevail, they would have to prove to the jurors that the Bros were liars and that their tales of abuse were simply not true.
Well, it seems pretty clear cut, huh? July 17th, 1993, 3 days before the trial started, Leslie Abramson gave an interview to the LA Times. Probably shouldn't be doing that.
No.
She said that a series of increasingly intense confrontations between the Bros and their parents had led to the murders. During the interview, she laid out her case, which would primarily consist of the defense destroying the image of the Menendez family.
Oh, geez, that's so stupid. Just to think, too. All the family that are behind the Bros are like, what are you guys doing? You're putting all our shit out there for everybody to see.
They're like, I really don't give a shit. We're going to go to jail, dude.
Right. Right. And if not, you guys ain't going to talk to us anyway.
Right. I wonder if they were to end up getting off, would they get the inheritance and all that shit still? You would, right? They would have to.
Why not?
Right.
Abramson and Lansing consulted with Paul Mons, or Monez, M-O-N-E-S, however you say his last name, Mr. Paul. I'm sorry.
It's got to be like Monet's, right?
He's a lawyer and a children's right
I'm
advocate.
a lawyer. Children's right African.
Paul had written When a Child Kills, Abused Children Who Kill Their Parents.
Oh, see?
It's a book that outlines how attorneys can successfully defend children accused of killing their parents.
Well,
After
actually,
child abuse.
There's a handbook on how to do that.
I mean,
All right.
Paul's book is based on his research, which show that kids who killed their parents are usually peaceful and have parents that are very private and secretive. Paul also found that these children have a low self-opinion of themselves and react only after suffering abuse silently, usually after years of trying to unsuccessfully to please their parents, and then it gets way too much, right?
I don't think either of their brothers had a low self-opinion or of themselves when they were
Rich.
popular, rich, and going out for tennis teams and doing all sorts of shit.
I mean, the dad was a dick, but I don't think that warrants murder. Well, we don't know.
Well, right.
According to Paul, when these children fight back, they strike when their abuser is vulnerable, and they strike hard. I mean, you know, when you finally break, you get to that breaking point, you just break, and you start bitching about shit that happened 3 months ago.
Right.
The crimes tend to be characterized by overkill, right? Just like I said. Instead of one bullet being fired at the abuser, the child will shoot the abuser over and over and over and over and over and over again. Paul believes that when a parent is moited, it's their fault.
Jeez, I hope none of our kids are listening to this right now. Holy shit.
Paul!
What are you doing, Paul? Well, Abramson and Lansing followed his advice and dressed their clients in boyish sweaters, sport shirts, and khaki pants, all in an effort to show that Eric and Lyle were not men of 22 and 25, but boys of 12 and 15.
I mean, that's what they would wear anyway, right?
Right. Abramson, they're like, we need to buy you some boyish sweaters, sport shirts, and khaki pants. Let's just go look in our closet.
They're like, bye.
Abramson wanted to show
fucking
that
tennis players.
Right.
Of course they're going
Of
to
course
have all
they
that
have
shit.
all that.
Right.
Abramson wanted to show that Eric was a boy and that she was this indulgent aunt. Oh, see, this is where the relationship, like you said in the last episode, gets a little weird between these two. Throughout the trial, she picked lint off his sweater, and she made sure to keep her arm on his shoulder whenever she whispered into his ear. By behaving in this way, Abramson implied that she was not defending a monster, just a misunderstood boy who needed good parenting. And sucking his cock.
The auntie? Okay.
Oh, it's his lawyer. She's trying to make, like, she's like his aunt or something.
Oh.
Picking lint off his sweater.
Right,
Like,
okay.
treating him like he's a little child or something.
Right, I get it. The defense also relied on a diagnostic tool developed by therapist Isu Bloom for use with incest survivors.
Okay.
The tool is a 34-item checklist that deals with the after effects of childhood abuse that's sexually. Bloom's checklist had many items that could be applied to both bros. The checklist contains items such as fear of sleeping alone. That don't mean anything. Blocking out a period of early life. That don't mean nothing. Carrying an awful secret. And stealing all of which Eric admitted to. Oh, and stealing, all of which Eric admitted to. So he admits to stealing, having an awful secret, blocking out periods of his life, and he don't like sleeping alone.
Okay.
That does not mean sexual abuse.
Right.
Maybe the awful secret.
If that's what you're carrying, if that's a
Right,
secret,
right,
I guess. But
Right. Lyle's comments fit checklist items, such as a desire to dissociate from his family, creating a fantasy world, which Lyle did with his stuffed animals, rigid control of thought processes, and a feeling that there was a demand to achieve in order to be loved. I mean, all those are checklists of anything. Nothing to do with...
okay, it doesn't make any sense. Both Eric and Lyle had changed dramatically since their arraignment in 1989. At that hearing, they had appeared cocky and arrogant. Brothers had aged and matured in jail. No, they have no choice. They appeared to have lost weight, and
What
Eric...
year is this now?
93.
Oh, shit, yeah.
And Eric, in particular, did not look healthy. His skin was chalk white, and he appeared gaunt. Throughout the trial, Lyle would wear his hairpiece.
He has a hairpiece?
He had a hairpiece, huh? But that was all...
And how old are these guys?
He's 27, 28 by now.
Jeez.
But that was all about that remained from his 1989 arraignment. Why do you have a hairpiece? I mentioned that before. During the trial, their grandmother, Maria Menendez, and their aunts, Marta Cano and Terry Baralt, supported the brothers.
Right.
Even after the
Even after
tapes
it
came out,
said
that,
they did
right.
it?
Notably absent throughout the trial were members of the Anderson family, though. Kitty's family was like, no.
Well, Kitty's family didn't like Dad.
Right. It's true.
Dad's
Probably
Cuban? Was
probably-
he Cuban or Puerto Rican?
He was Cuban. They probably blamed him for her getting killed, right? Right.
Right. Bozanic came to trial with some ambivalence, especially concerning the death penalty. He was like,
Ambivalence.
right. Although she believes in the death penalty, Bozanic is aware that many jurors are reluctant to impose it. Yeah, that's a tough thing to do there. Lester Kuriyama was not ambivalent about the death penalty when it came to the Menendez bros. He was like,
these little bastards need to fry.
he's like, no, it's pretty clear what we want. He thought that the bros were cold, conscienceless killers. That's a terrible word.
Right.
In the weeks leading up to the trial, Bozanic had asked Leslie Abramson if she considered asking about a plea bargain, but Abramson never did. The two sides were always too far apart. They're like, how about you don't charge him with murder?
How about, right?
They're like,
Manslaughter or something?
We can't do that.
Right. Aside from the attorneys and the judge, there was one more entity in the trial, which was a television camera. Judge Weisberg allowed a single television camera in the courtroom. He was aware of the intense public interest in the case and the limited number of seats available in his courtroom, so he allowed Court TV to provide a television camera and broadcast the trial. And thus, Court TV is born, pretty much.
Yeah, that was rough. Trial began July 20th, 1993. Bozanic opening statements laying out the case against Lyle. Bozanic described the brutality of the Moitas. 6 wounds to Jose, 10 wounds to Kitty. She laid the foundation for her theory that the bros had killed their parents while lying in wait as their parents dozed off. She
Doesn't
described
make any sense.
Right. She described how Lyle they were lying in wait, but they just weren't there. They just took off and were like, hey, we'll come back later.
Right.
So I guess, kind of. She described how Lyle had hired bodyguards after the Moitas because he feared for his own safety because of the mob, obviously.
That was his excuse, right?
Bozanic told the jury that, from what we now know, this hint that his own life might have been in danger because of his parents' killings was a lie.
Right, obviously.
Bozanic would often remind the jurors throughout the trial that if Lyle and Eric could lie so frequently and in such detail to avoid being caught, they could also lie about child abuse to avoid death sentences. Something to think about there, juries. Bozanic told the jury about the bros' spending sprees. To be like, can you believe these sons of bitches? Daddy Mommy's been dead about a week.
What was it? From the time of the murders to the end of that year, it was like $1 million they spent?
Ridiculous. It was mostly Lyle, though.
Yeah.
Eric was like, dude, I still get all my money. I was like, come on, man. Just give me
Eric's like, dude, I hired a tennis professional.
I'm going to play tennis in frickin' Italy.
Israel.
Yeah, same thing. She discussed the Rolex watch purchases in Lyle's Porsche, the Marina Towers apartments, Lyle's restaurant.
It's all Lyle's. And then there's
they're like,
Eric's tennis coach.
We got to throw that in there.
That he would have probably got if the parents were alive anyways at that time.
Right.
Like,
For free.
well, the dad would have paid for it, you know?
So,
And he bought, a Jeep?
Yeah, a Jeep. A Jeep and a tennis coach.
Yeah. Jill Lanson began her opening statement by telling the jurors that Lyle and Eric killed their parents. Well, no shit. This is the brother's attorney, though.
Right.
So she said, we're not disputing when it happened. The only thing is that you're going to have to focus on in this trial is why it happened.
Right.
She told the jury that what we will prove to you is that the murders were committed out of fear. Fear of two parents who were so brutal, so manipulative, so sexually perverse that they drove their own sons to the most desperate act of defilement.
I don't know, man.
Lansing would not reveal the details of the perversion or the brutality at this point, and went on to describe the lifestyle the brothers enjoyed growing up. Lyle's Alfa Romeo, private tennis coaches, luxury vacations, and their use of their parents' credit cards.
Right.
Wow, sounds like a fucking terrible life to me.
Right. Oh, so bad. Lansing tried to show that money was not the motive for the Moitas. Lansing was building up to the heart of the bros.
Well, but does the prosecution know that the parents were going to rewrite their will?
Right. We don't know about that yet.
Right.
Lansing was building up to the heart of the bros' defense, which was that the bros killed their parents because they feared for their lives after confronting their father over a years-long ordeal of sexual, physical, and mental abuse. Probably mental, maybe some physical. I don't know about sexual. We'll see. Lansing explained that the catalyst for why the Moitas took place was the fear that the family's old secrets would be revealed, and those secrets would destroy the reputation of the so-called perfect family. Air quote.
Right.
Do you think she did that?
She might have. Yep. Lansing told the jury that the catalyst was Eric's revelation to his brother a few days before the killings that his father had been molesting him for 12 years.
Oh, shit.
This revelation disturbed Lyle so thoroughly because he too had been molested by Jose from the ages of 6 to 8. Well, he just stopped at 8.
Stopped.
Lansing described how Lyle had confronted Jose and told him that the abuse was going to stop. Lyle told his father that he was going to let him take his brother and leave the house. According to Lansing, Jose told Lyle that he would do whatever he wanted with his son and that no one would threaten him. Lansing went on to say that Jose made it very clear to Lyle that this secret would never leave the family and that people who held the secret and this power over him would not be allowed to live. Oh, please.
Oh, get out of here.
According to Lansing, that is when the brothers drove to San Diego and purchased shotguns using Donovan Goudreau's driver's license. Lansing explained that the murders were a result of what these children believed. Lansing's use of the word children began a pattern that she and other defense attorneys would use throughout the trial to refer to the 22 and 25-year-old men.
Right, get out of here. Lansing told the jury that neither bro had talked about the abuse until after they had been arrested and incarcerated for many, many months because their shame was so great. Yeah, right, whatever. You're on murder charges. That would have been the first thing that came out of my mouth. The bros had told a family member about the abuse and that the family member had told the defense attorneys. Oh, when they're in jail.
Right.
The prosecution was always suspicious of how the abuse was revealed. Prosecutors felt that the timing was curious and that the bros rehearsed their stories with each other before telling members of their family.
no shit.
Clearly, with the lawyers. Guarantee you that shit. Prosecutors believed that the bros had been visited by a number of psychologists immediately after they were arrested. What do you mean believed? That should be documented.
No, it doesn't have to be.
Right. The psychologists who saw the bros later, after the stories were revealed to the family, would be experts to testify at their trial. Oh, get some experts. Lansing told the jurors that Lyle would testify and describe tales of abuse, including the abuse he began to suffer at age 6, when he claimed Jose began to molest him. Just stopped after 2 years and...
Lester Kiriyama was a seasoned prosecutor who held the brothers in greater contempt than Pam Bozanich.
Okay.
He had a deep and emotional hostility toward the brothers and was convinced that they were liars and manipulators who deserved the worst punishment the law provided.
Does he have like a personal thing here? Something happened in his own life?
He never seemed to miss an opportunity to imply that the brothers were a pair of phonies out to con the world.
I mean, some people can see it. If you see it, you see it.
Especially a con, right?
Right. Right. In Kuriyama's opening statement to Eric's jury, he said that the bros had wanted to execute their parents and not get caught. Kuriyama told the jurors that Dr. Oziel would describe the confession that Eric had made and how Eric felt that his father was too controlling. He wants too much of us. We got to be perfect. Kuriyama added to that, Jose criticized him and made him feel inadequate and prevented him from doing what he wanted, which was, what, nothing? To be a slacker.
Prevented him from doing what he wanted. Right, which was mooching off the dad and not having
a plan for his future.
Right, and failing at school. And
All right, get out of here. He told the jury that Oziel would testify that Eric thought that Jose had disinherited him from his will, and that Eric thought that this was another reason to get rid of Jose. They liked Kitty. Kitty did their homework. Kitty did. She had breakfast, lunch, and dinner out, nicely clean and folded clothes.
I doubt that. Kitty was your typical
do what husband says.
Do what husband says and drunk rich mom.
Oh yeah, she was on a wine. She was a wine kicker.
Right. Kiriyama explained that Kitty was murdered because she would have been a witness and would have been miserable and suicidal without Jose. Maybe the last part, but she didn't have to be a witness because they easily could have done it somewhere else.
Easily. Be like, hey, Dad, you want
to take the boat out? Right. Well, then they would have been suspects.
Not really.
Right at the beginning. Or he fell over when he was,
That's a good way to do it.
Right. Kiriyama finished this opening statement by telling the jury that the brothers tried to create a web of deception that included false alibis, lies to the police, a stolen driver's license used to purchase the murder weapons. It wasn't really stolen when the guy left it there.
He left it there.
And the employment of a computer expert to delete a computer file. That they did do.
Yes. In her open statement, Leslie Abramson expanded on the many of the same themes that Jill Lansing had outlined during her opening statement to Lyle's jury. Lyle's jury. Abramson told the jury that Lyle had acted the way he had to defend his bro. Eric needed to be defended because he was a real victim in the family. He's just a young, naive boy and just easily taken advantage of, right? She acknowledged that Eric...
Young, naive, is 22.
She acknowledged that Eric's revelation of abuse might look suspicious, especially after he had spent time in jail and have not mentioned it since. But it didn't mean that he made it up. Sometimes it takes years and years and years for people to come out with stuff, but not when you're looking at a murder trial and you've been in jail for 4 years. I think I would have said that instantly.
Right.
Abramson said that the reason that Eric didn't tell the truth earlier was because he did not trust Dr. Oziel, whatever. Or his
He
best
didn't
friend.
trust him, but he's the one that he went to confess the murders to.
Right. He didn't trust Dr. Oziel or his best friend Craig, who was doing the illegal hacking.
I wouldn't trust anybody named Craig.
Right. Craig. Abramson promised that Eric would tell them why he killed his parents. She did not say that Eric would tell the truth, though.
Okay. Abramson went on to describe how Eric was groomed for his father's sexual gratification. She described various acts that Eric alleged were inflicted upon him by Jose. Defense had won the right to raise issues regarding Kitty's character to the jury. Lanson told Lyle's jury that her children were afraid of her. That's why she is dead.
I don't know about that.
Makes no sense. Abramson said the brothers could not turn to Kitty for help and solace because all they found was a disturbed woman who dished out more abuse, sexual, physical, and psychological. So now she did something too?
And now she's fucking the boys, huh?
Weisberg would not allow the attorneys to describe in great deal Kitty's problems with alcohol and prescription drugs, but they could show that Kitty was unstable and obsessive. What the defense was allowed to do, with Weisberg's permission, was to destroy Jose and Kitty's reputations, though.
She was just a housewife, right?
Yeah,
No
I mean,
job
as
or
far as
anything?
I know, yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's definitely alcohol.
Remember, she wanted to be
Right.
in the radio and shit, and Jose ended up doing that instead.
Right. He's like, no, I got it, babe. You just write down what you want to do, and I'll take care of it.
Right.
Yeah, so I can see that. Housewife.
You know how they are.
Jose probably has a bunch of Gumars on the side.
She's, well, she did. Right. Remember?
So, yeah.
When she found out about it, she was like suicidal and shit.
Right. She's an Elkie. She's a pill popper. Yeah, so, okay.
I mean, I can see it.
Right.
I don't know what her, like, sexual abuse is,
I
though.
doubt
I mean,
that.
maybe.
she
I don't
was-
fucking know.
Maybe she was horny.
Could be.
Caught a glimpse when the kid's getting out of the shower.
Right. Oh, you look like your daddy when he was young, you know, or something weird like that.
Little Eric! Bring mom
Bring
a-
little Eric with you.
Right. Bring mom some Zinfandel and your penis.
Yes, Mom.
All right. Make it quick. Abramson, that's sad. Abramson echoed Lansing's opening statement that when she described the week leading up to the Moitas, Abramson described how Kitty and Lau had gotten into a screaming fight and how Kitty had reached up and yanked Lau's hairpiece. I believe that.
I do too.
She's all hammering on some wine.
She's
She's like, you need to grow up, Lyle. And
Probably knows that he's insecure as hell about it already.
Apparently, Loud had lost most of his hair when he was 14 and wore a toupee because Jose had once told him it was better for his image if it appeared he had a full head of hair. Yeah, at the age of 14. Damn right.
You would think.
Or just go for the bald look.
All right.
Eric claimed he did not know that Lau wore a toupee. You lying whore. And the shock of this alleged discovery made Eric take Lau into his confidence. All right. He's sitting there watching it, and bam, she's like, "Man, Mom's that strong and just ripped all that hair out of your head." He's like, "No,
That's clean."
Clean. Does that hurt?
He's like, "Nope." Eric told Lyle that Jose had been molesting him for years. This led to the brothers' attempt to purchase 2 handguns.
They're already super close at this time anyway. Why? Oh, he needed his bro's toupee to be torn off his head.
Right.
Like, now I can tell him.
Right.
We got the same amount of
Traumatic experience, maybe?
traumatic experience, or same amount of embarrassment.
Right.
You know.
They attempted to purchase 2 handguns. However, they told their attorneys they could not purchase the weapons because there was a 2-week waiting period. Well, they could have just waited 2 weeks.
Right.
Not like their dad was going anywhere. Because the brothers were so fearful and felt they had no time to waste, they drove to San Diego and purchased shotguns.
Right.
Abramson told Eric's jury how much he looked forward to attending UCLA and moving away from home.
1 week before.
Well, you could have just did that instead of murdering them.
Exactly. And you would have still had, come on. 1 week before the murders, Jose told Eric that he would have to sleep at home several days a week so that Jose and Kitty could keep track of his schoolwork. Motherfucker, I'm paying $100,000 for you to go to school.
Which really means that he would have to stay so Kitty could do his homework.
Right.
And I don't think he's paying for no schoolwork because I think he got in for tennis. Yeah.
Right. Aberson Aberson said that Eric thought that this meant that the sexual abuse would continue. After Aberson had finished her opening statement, Bozanich and Kiriyama reminded the jurors that Eric confessed to Dr. Oziel.
Well, yeah, they've already admitted in the attorney already admitted in the opening statement that they killed him.
Eric had told Oziel about killing Jose because Jose's harsh treatment of him, but had never mentioned sexual abuse. The same was true of Eric's confession to Craig Cignarelli. Same thing, Cignarelli. The bros had never spoken about abuse until they needed a legal defense, almost 7 months after they murdered their parents.
That is true, because if you know you're about to go on trial
For murder.
that would be like the first thing. Well, they molested me. That'd be like the first thing. I'd
Right.
scream out if it really
You
happened.
ain't kidding.
During the first phase of the trial, the prosecution called 26 witnesses. Most were minor participants in the drama. The witnesses ranged from Lyle's bodyguards to the Big Five store clerk who sold Eric the shotguns, and the 2 computer experts who checked Kitty's computer for an updated will. Prosecution
Was there one there?
I don't think so. Prosecution used these witnesses to show that the brothers were accomplished liars who planned and carried out the murder of their parents.
I think they truly believe that they're out of the will. I think that was it.
Well, no, because they still got all that money afterwards.
Yeah. Right.
The new will hadn't been notified or whatever.
Right.
You know?
Notarized.
There you go. Man.
Prosecution began its case by playing Lyle's 911 call to the Beverly Hills Police Department for the jurors, who now knew that the whole thing was staged. Oh, damn. The jurors already knew this?
Well, I'm assuming.
Bozanich wanted the jury to hear for themselves what a good actor Lyle was. Officer Michael Butkiss testified that he witnessed that Lyle and Eric run around and yell after the murders. They're running around, especially Eric. He was, woo!
This makes no sense, so this guy's lying.
But not crying, right? Eric was definitely
Eric was
insanely
uncontrollable,
crying. Oh, yeah.
they said. Okay, so...
So, Butkiss, what's going on here, Butkiss?
Butkiss. The next witness was the captain of the boat who took the Menendez family shark fishing on August 19th.
Going fishing?
He described what an odd family they were and how the brothers had spent almost the entire 7-hour trip huddled together at the front of the boat. At the end of the day's testimony, Abramson told reporters that the reason the brothers had stayed to themselves on the boat was because they feared that the boat trip was a setup to kill them.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
With the captain there?
Captain on board. These guys are morons.
To a rational person, this sounded rather far-fetched, considering that there were witnesses on the boat. Like, okay. But Abramson said that Lyle and Eric believed
Oh,
this.
sure they did. They're not stupid.
Well, Well, Abramson was trying to establish that the brothers had a growing sense of doom leading up to the night of the murders, and that they saw the most ordinary actions as potentially life-threatening events. I guess if you are truly crazy and like that, I guess you would be thinking the worst always. But
you would.
I mean,
Les Zoller described how the bros returned to the Menendez mansion and the crime scene at about 5:30 a.m. on August 21st, 1989, and asked for their tennis rackets. Hey man, can we get our tennis rackets?
oh shit, that's like hours after they've already been murdered, and the cops are already there and shit, and they're like, can we go get our tennis rackets out of this crime scene, please?
I mean, I got to practice.
I mean, still, you could argue.
They didn't know what else to do, right?
You got to keep your mind off of it, I guess.
Yeah, they loved it so much. How can we play with no rackets? Damn, they're at the house.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Instead of buying a Rolex, you could have easily went and buy a new tennis racket.
Pretty sure Mom's laying on mine. Shit. Bozanich wanted the juries to see how brazen the brothers were to come back to the crime scene just hours after the brutal murders took place. The bros were not allowed inside the house because the coroner was examining the bodies of Jose and
Oh my gosh, the bodies were still there and they still wanted to go inside and get their tennis rackets?
Leslie Abramson.
That's even more worse. I can understand if everything had been cleaned up already. Oh, wow.
Wow. Abraham asked Zoller if he had seen any animal droppings in the house. Did you see any animal droppings? Zoller said, I don't know. I don't remember. Abramson was laying the groundwork for her contention that Kitty was a poor mother and bad housekeeper. What, that she...
They had a maid.
Right. And a terrible boss. The maid just came there and drank martinis, smoked cigarettes.
Well, not only that, they're terrible bosses because now they're murdered and that maid's out of work.
Right. Damn. They should make her clean up the mess.
Right. They probably did.
The animal, no. They hired. Never mind. The animal droppings would become a running theme during the trial. Yet witnesses who had been in the house frequently said that there's no animal droppings. These guys are millionaires.
I don't like this Abramson woman.
Right. They're millionaires, but yet there's going to be dog and cat shit in their house.
She sounds like an idiot.
I guarantee you everything was spotless in the son bitch.
Well, they did say that the living room the den was messy when they went in there.
What?
And it wasn't from the brothers. Like it was just like that.
Well, maybe it was just the den.
I guess.
Yeah,
well,
I don't know. If you're nice and titty-tighty.
Right.
It's going to be in every room.
One room's only going to be like that.
Right, especially the den.
Right. Yeah, Sergeant Edmonds became suspicious of the brothers after Eric told him when he entered the family room, he saw and smelled smoke.
Uh-oh.
But Edmonds testified, I felt that if he smelled smoke, he would have had to be pretty rapidly after the shots were fired.
Right.
Oh, right. Edmonds testified that several of the windows in the family room had been shot out, and this would cause the smoke to dissipate quickly.
Very quickly.
The prosecution,
I mean, not that quickly, but quickly enough.
Right. The prosecution's next witness was a sheriff's weapons expert who demonstrated the operation of a 12-gauge Mossberg shotgun in the courthouse. Prosecution wanted to show that the murders were premeditated. To fire a Mossberg shotgun, an individual must pull the trigger and go through a two-step pumping process before refiring the weapon. Right. Abramson objected to the demonstration, but was overruled. You can't object to that.
No, you got to see exactly how the weapon worked. Lyle and Eric's friends had turned on them. Perry Berman, Craig Signorelli, Donovan Goodrew.
You damn right, Donovan did.
Right, and Glenn Stevens testified for the prosecution. Prosecution used Berman's testimony to show that the bros had tried to set up an alibi using a witness who had never saw anything pertinent to the events on the night of the 20th of August, 1989.
Yeah, wasn't he the one they were supposed to go meet for the Cheesecake Factory or some shit?
July 26th, Craig testified about his visit to the Menendez mansion 12 days after the murders, where Eric described to Craig how it all happened. And, there's joking. This was the first time the jurors heard Eric's version of the events that occurred in the family room. Now it's a family room. I thought it was a den.
Right.
I don't know. And how it differed from the table of two terrified young men killing for fear that they were about to be murdered by their own flesh and blood, their own parents. They had to act first. Kill or be killed, baby. Craig also told the jury that Eric had never told him about any physical, psychological, or sexual abuse. And at the end of the day, Judge Weisberg ruled that Eric and Craig's screenplay, Friends, could not be used as evidence. Oh, that was that one where...
That was the one where they
going to kill.
Murdered him to get the money.
Get the money. Yeah. Weisberg ruled that the screenplay had been written too long before the murders to be relevant.
Right. Right. I mean, come on.
I mean, I guess, but come on. I could read something 12 years ago and
still keep that in the back of my mind, right? I guess, but Donovan Gaudreau testified that his wallet and ID was left behind in Lyle's dorm.
He left in like a scurry, right?
He was like stealing shit, right?
Yeah, he was rolling.
He had been forced to leave after being accused of stealing. Donovan also testified that he had once confided to Lyle that he had been molested when he was a little boy.
Whoa, wait a minute here.
Donovan recalled that Lyle did not respond with any similar stories or remarks about himself and never mentioned being sexually abused during the entire time they were roommates.
I mean, I guess.
You would think you're opening up to one. I mean, I don't know, but still, Lyle could still be embarrassed about it. It's not like something you just go and just because somebody says it.
Just because they want to say it, I'm going to.
Right.
Wow.
So I'm not convinced either way.
No, not yet. But still, I haven't. No. I don't know, man. Donovan's credibility was challenged when the defense brought up an interview that Donovan had given in March of 1992 to Robert Rand, a freelance writer from Miami, who said he was writing a book about the Menendez case.
See, this is a problem.
Yep.
It's been almost 4 years since the murders, and who knows what people are saying or been coerced to say or, making up shit. I mean, come on.
And a freelance writer, too.
Right.
You already know what freelance writers do. They twist and turn everything just to make themselves look good. In that very interview, Donovan had mentioned that he heard that Jose had abused Lyle. Rand gave a copy of the taped interview to a Los Angeles TV reporter who played the tape on the evening news.
Damn, why wouldn't he give it to the damn court?
Right. That's got to be like a mistrial right there. I mean, I guess not. Bozanich was angry that Rand would inject himself into the trial's proceedings and that Rand appeared on television and accused Donovan of lying.
Why?
Bozanich believed that Donovan had been fed information about Jose and Lyle, and he was repeating a story he had heard.
Oh, sure.
Well, he was.
Oh, well, he was repeating a story he had heard. Clearly, he was.
Lyle?
From whoever. Doesn't matter. It doesn't look too good when it's on the news.
Right.
Glenn Stevens followed Donovan.
You know when something's on the news, that's it.
Right. Glenn Stevens followed Donovan and testified that he had heard stories of abuse from Robert Rand and then had repeated those stories to Donovan. Oh, okay. Stevens' credibility was called into question when Jill Lansing produced his resume and exposed a number of embellishments, quote-unquote, on it. Stevens wrote on his resume that he kept the accounting records for Mr. Buffalo's and claimed the snack shop had sales of $1 million a year. Okay, Stevens admitted that Lyle gave him one of his Rolex watches, which he later sold and pocketed the money for.
Okay.
Well, he gave him the Rolex, so who gives a shit if he pocketed the money?
Right.
It's not like he stole anything. So is he lying about the $1 million a year claim, I'm assuming?
Well, you just easily look up.
Right. Well, not if he's putting it on a resume to get hired somewhere.
Well, later in the day, Bozanich questioned Rand. Bozanich pointed out that on the taped interview, Donovan never mentioned anything about Lyle and sexual abuse.
He didn't say sexual.
Bozanich made it appear that Rand was the source of Donovan's information. Dr. Erwin Golden, the L.A. County Assistant Coroner, testified about the 10 wounds that are inflicted on Kitty and the 6 on Jose. He said that all wounds occurred in quick succession. Okay.
Prosecution's star witness was Dr. Oziel, of course. Before he took the witness stand, Leslie Abramson promised to attack his credibility in every way known to man and God.
Uh-oh.
The defense believed that Oziel created the tapes for his own purposes and that Lyle and Eric told him what he wanted to hear.
Wasn't he the one that purposely...
He's the one that blew the cover off of everything.
Right, he purposely taped... No, Oziel, he purposely
and then had his fiancée listening on the thing.
Oh, man, this guy shouldn't be...
Oziel's credibility was attacked even before he faced Leslie.
Right.
July 23rd, the California State Board of Psychology filed a complaint that sought to revoke Oziel's license because he had allegedly engaged in a sexual, social, or business relationship with 2 patients, dude. You're not real good prosecution when your witnesses all turn out to be shitbags.
August 4th, Dr. Oziel began the first of 6 days of testimony for the prosecution. Oziel testified before both Lyle and Eric's juries that both the bros wanted to kill Jose because he was dominating their lives and made them feel inferior. Kitty was murdered because the bros did not want to leave her behind as a witness.
It's a stupid defense.
The defense won one battle when Weisberg ruled that Oziel could not use the word sociopath.
Right. Not properly diagnosed.
Weisberg considered the word sociopath to be a buzzword that would be prejudicial to the bros. They would.
Prejudicial, right? Prejudice. For Bozanich and Kuriyama, Ozil. Prejudicial. Ozil provided the only detailed recreation. See, look at that. Words. English is stupid.
It's very hard.
Ozil provided the only detailed recreation of the murders in the brothers' own words. Ozil undermined the defense strategy, which sought to portray the killings as an act of self-defense after years of physical, mental, and sexual abuse. He testified that Eric told him that the plan to kill Jose and Kitty was rooted in a situation where Eric was watching a BBC television show.
Yeah, we heard about that.
Yeah. Ozil said that Eric told him that Jose had just been completely dominated and controlling and was impossible to please.
I think that's Lyle's words, so.
We've seen.
Those are Lyle's words, so they're stuck in Eric's head.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
From what we've read about Jose, we heard that statement's 100%
Very
true.
true. Yes, very true. He was a very strict father. Showed little love. But he also got them all out of everything they've been involved in. Man. Ozil also testified that the bros decided to kill their mother because the bros did not believe Kitty could have survived emotionally without Jose. And they didn't want to deal with it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they didn't want to have to take care of this bitch.
Right. You might as well just get rid of them both. Right. Like, man, you really gonna want to sit there and watch?
Like, you know how she's gonna be after she's done, after this is over with.
She's either be crying or drunk.
Right, both
or both, all the time.
She's gonna have to live with one of us.
Right. Eric's like, not me. I gotta go to Israel and play tennis.
Lyle's like, no, I got Janice or whatever the hell that chick's name was.
She always hides my toupee. Come on, Mom, I gotta go to work. You know you don't got a job.
You're right. I inherited your husband's money.
Right. Come on, Ma, I gotta go to the ATM. I need my toupee.
That's my work.
I need my toupee for the camera shot. Because they won't notice it's me. And they'll lock my card. Then I have to explain to them.
I don't have an ID picture.
And then when I show them my ID, they're going to be like, that's not you.
I don't have an ID picture of me without my toupee on, Mom. You know this.
Like, no, this guy has a full head of hair. Come on, bud. My mom stole my toupee. I swear it's me. Oh, wow.
What, you never had your mom steal your toupee before?
Eric also told Ozil that Jose's near disinheritance of him was an example of why he and Lau had to kill their father. That's not an example. Ozil described the killings and said that Eric told him that Jose and Kitty were surprised when the bros burst into the family room. I thought they were sleeping.
Well, the dad was, for sure.
Right. Ozil described the threats he had received from Lau after the October 31st session in which Eric confessed to the murders. And Lau was like, you son of a bitch.
We have to kill them all. Leslie Abramson and Michael Burke cross-examined Ozil. They brought up his affair with Judalon Smith and the fact that he recently settled a lawsuit that she brought against him for $400,000.
You knew that shit was happening.
Well, they also brought up the State Board of Psychology complaint that he improperly prescribed drugs for Smith and had an improper dual relationship with another patient.
I mean, that there alone.
Oh, in that relationship, Ozil had exchanged therapy sessions for construction work completed around his home.
Oh, wow.
So,
right. Before said how you got to get paid.
Right. Before the prosecution rested on August 13th, Lester Kiriyama tried to have the Billionaire Boys Club miniseries placed into evidence and shown to the juries. But the jurors were like, I don't want to watch that trash.
Right.
But Weisberg ruled against it. To Kiriyama, the miniseries provided the Menendez brothers with a blueprint of how to commit the perfect murder.
I mean, come on,
shut up. You could
do that with anything.
Right. How many shows out there are like that?
Get out of here. Jose's former mistress, Louise, followed the trial on court TV.
I bet she did. She was like, am I going to get any of this money? Did he leave me anything?
Right. She's like, oh, hold on, Dad. Now, damn it. That's why Jose been returning my calls.
Right. She's like, damn. And just to think, I was going to go key his car.
Right. We were just about to open a joint bank account. Son of a bitch. Louise called Bozanich to say that the man she had known was nothing like the person being destroyed by the defense. She said, that is not, well, I mean, it's going to be.
How would she know? I mean, of course, he's going to be always better to the mistress.
He's going to be totally different.
Stupid. It's like these guys never seen anything before.
She also told Bozanich that Kitty had confronted her about the affair, which isn't her right.
Which we know is true, right?
But rather than behaving like a raving lunatic as the defense betrayed her, Louise said that Kitty was as pleasant as she could be under the circumstances and just wanted to make sure that the affair was over, which I can see as well. Like, yo, bitch, you fucking my husband still? Nah, man, it's done. It better be. It is.
She's like Carmela
Right.
in The Sopranos.
Yeah, she would have been calm.
She knows it's happening,
Right.
but
What are you going to do?
she gets pissed at Tony more than the or
Right.
Jose in this case, I guess.
Right. And plus, she sees it all over the place. Everybody knows.
Right.
Bozanich and Kuriyama debated whether to call Louise to the stand to reboot the portray that the defense was painting of Joe's. Damn you, fucking piece of shit. Bozanich and Kuriyama debated whether to call Louise to the stand and to have her say, hey, you guys are saying Jose was this person, and he was not. He was an adulterer, but he was not what you say here.
Yeah, probably not a good look to have a mistress come up to the stand.
But they sided against him because they did not want to subject Louise to an enormous amount of media scrutiny. Yeah, you whore! You whore! You ruined these kids' lives!
Yeah, exactly. That would have backfired probably
Instantly.
Wow.
Menendez could be walking free right now.
Good, yeah. The defense intended to call 90 witnesses, but Judge Weisberg ruled that many of the stories...
Damn, how do you get 90?
The defense, right.
Holy shit.
The judge ruled that too many of the stories that the defense wanted to present were too remote
Right.
to have relevance and probative value.
Yeah, that's right. No, I
Right.
think-
It's probably like some like waiter at the damn country
Right.
club was like, these guys were always nice.
I mean, they tip well.
Stupid.
They tip well.
It forced the defense to trim its list to 50. Okay.
I stopped at a stoplight next to these guys one day.
We were both listening to the same radio station. We
Right.
kind of like nodded our head together before the light turned green.
Right,
Dude.
they waited for the light to turn green, and they looked both ways before even going.
Right. Stand up citizens. The defense's case lasted 3 months.
Oh, wow.
The defense had the difficult
Damn, 3 months, huh?
They had the difficult task of trying to prove to the juries that the brothers were in imminent danger before they killed their parents. Under California law, the imminent danger defense.
To be honest, if it took 3 months to try to do that, then you had to reach.
It should have taken an hour.
Right.
Maybe. In California, the imminent danger defense was the only way the brothers could be completely acquitted of the murders or had a chance of being convicted of manslaughter instead.
And get like 2 years.
Right. Well,
Maybe probation. Probably probation.
a few years at least. They'd get out of jail for sure.
Yeah. In order to obtain either of these verdicts, the defense needed to prove 2 things. 1, Lau and Eric had been in fear of their lives and the conduct of their parents, and that the conduct of their parents would have produced at the same state of mind in a reasonable person.
Well, it's saying,
This-
they're saying
These guys up here.
any other person would have done what Lyle and Eric would have done.
There were 2 California cases that applied to Menendez trial.
Ooh, see, it's always good when you have other trials to go back to.
Right. And dealt with the battered wife and the battered child syndromes.
I think I said something about that earlier.
People vs. Eris was a case where the defendant shot and killed her sleeping husband after being beaten and told by her husband that he would not permit her to live. But he went to sleep. Just not right now.
I'm thinking probably, the if you leave me, I won't let you live type of shit,
Eris had been found guilty, and the appellate court affirmed the conviction in 1989. Wow.
Oh, so they didn't take the battered wife defense, huh?
Well, it's because he was sleeping, too.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Right. If he was like awake and attacking her, that's totally different.
Well, I don't know,
story.
because I bet you there's other states and other...
Yeah, but if you're sleeping, I don't care. You could have easily just got out of the house.
Well, that's her time to
Murder him?
do it.
I guess. No, that's stupid. The impact of this case was that it placed pressure on judges to permit a wider range of testimony in battered person cases. Yes, that's true. I don't agree with... Yeah, I think she should have been found guilty. If you wait till he's sleeping to do it?
At least not like full-blown murder. She at least had a reason.
Right. But still. That's why she only got manslaughter.
And could have been like, we don't know what she got. It could have been her only chance to get, because like she said, or like the husband supposedly told her,
All right.
I'll kill you
Right.
if you try to leave me. So what's she going to do? She's going to leave and then he finds her? Weisberg allowed the defense to present testimony from teachers, coaches, friends, family members, and child abuse experts, much to the annoyance of the prosecution, who believed that Weisberg allowed too much of the suspect testimony into the trial. Why? Got to have both sides. The other case that was relevant to the brothers' defense was People versus Flannel, which was a case where the defendant was convicted of second-degree murder in the shooting death of a man with whom the defendant had a history of hostility.
Oh, shit.
This case established a doctrine that an accused person's honest but unreasonable belief that it is necessary to defend oneself from imminent danger negates malice aforethought, the mental element that is necessary to convict a person of murder.
Okay. Make no sense either.
So the victim believes that I have a right to kill this person because I think I'm in danger, but it's unreasonably, and they're like, again, they're messed up in the head.
Right. They
always thinking that this person is going to do something to me.
Right. Okay, I get it. So that means they have mental health issues.
Something.
Right.
Or this relationship between this guy is always
Going to be that way.
fucked up, and they're just like thinking the worst.
It's true. Lau testified over a 9-day period. His testimony was filled with stories about the alleged molestation he suffered from the ages of 6 to 8. And the story that he sexually molested his bro when Eric was 5 years old. What, that he did? That Lyle did?
I guess.
What the fuck? Both Lyle and Eric cried frequently during Lyle's testimony. Lyle was testified that at age 13, he came to believe that his father was molesting his bro as well. Lyle testified that his father was so controlling that his...
Wait a minute. Didn't we just say earlier that Eric had just told Lyle like a week before the murders?
No, that they told the people, the family.
No.
Yeah, a week before, yeah.
Like a week before. That's
Right.
why they decided to finally do it.
Right.
So now he said he believed it at 13? Doesn't make any sense.
Nothing's making sense
No.
here with this trial. Lyle testified that his father was so controlling and his mother so emotionally unstable that both parts are true. Right. That he sought comfort in his own family of stuffed animals. Okay, whatever.
Right, well, whatever.
Lyle
remember in the first episode he was like still sleeping with animals when he was like 14 and went into bed and shit.
Right.
Yeah, so he was a little weird.
Lyle testified that Kitty sexually abused
Is that a
him
common thing in molested people?
Stuffed animals?
Like bedwetting and stuff like that?
I don't think
I think
to get out of bed.
I think it might be, dude.
Not leave the room or something.
I think it might be.
I don't know. Lyle testified that Kitty sexually abused him when he was 11 and 12. He claimed that he would touch Kitty everywhere. Even his father was sharing the same bed with him. Wow.
Even when his father was in it. Yeah.
And Daddy was there, not doing anything.
Right. Well, he was touching her too.
Right. I mean, come on. If that was that type of family, they would all have this big old orgy.
Right.
That's a little funky there. Lyle's testimony was powerful and rich in detail. Lyle's testimony built up to his description of events leading up to the night of the Moitas. He described shooting his father and his mother for the jury.
Well, Jill Lansing asked Lyle why the brothers
Eric
did not...
didn't shoot, right?
Well, no,
he did.
Of course he did. Smoked that bitch right in the face.
Right. Thought she was dead, but she wasn't.
Jill Lansing asked Lyle why the brothers did not run away from home, and Lyle replied there was no use in doing so because his father was powerful and would have found him.
Right.
Lyle added that he and Eric believed that the police would not have believed their stories of abuse. Before the defense allowed Lyle to be cross-examined, he admitted offering his girlfriend, Jamie, money as she testified that Jose had made unwanted sexual advances toward her. Oh, no.
Wait, what?
He tried to offer his girlfriend money saying that to testify that Jose had made sexual advances toward her. She refused and told police about Lyle's offer of a bribe.
Oh.
Another attempt to thwart questions that might damage Lyle's credibility, Lanson brought up the fact that Lyle had never told Ozio about the sexual abuse.
Right. I mean, you would have.
Lyle denied that he had bragged to Ozio about committing a perfect murder.
I mean, I don't care, right?
Because the only time we have that on record
Right.
is the chick that was listening.
And I don't know if we can even keep that, but I guess we can.
Well, no, the one tapes, remember, after the first session, the judge ruled the other two that they said they committed the murders not admissible. Because Ozio set him up purposely to get that.
I'm not buying any of this sexual abuse shit.
Not buying any of it. No.
No, not at all. I believe what they told Ozio exactly what happened. These guys were sick of an overbearing father, a mother that didn't give a shit, and
we're worried that they were going to get written out of the will. Yeah.
Right. Wozanich cross-examined Lyle over a 4-day period. She belittled Lyle's account of the killings and challenged him about the alleged abuse, but he did not break down. Bozanich was more successful in identifying inconsistencies in Lyle's version of the events. Nice. Bozanich was able to have Lyle admit that his parents did not have guns. They had, and also their parents did not make any direct threats to either bro, and that parts of his story sounded awful, and that a lot of decisions don't make sense. September 27th, Eric began to testify. Oh, now
here comes
Eric.
this guy.
Eric's demeanor was ragged, edgy throughout his days on the witness stand. He would stare out from narrow eyes, appearing dangerous and deranged, and then a moment later appeared wide-eyed and innocent and ready to
his little bottom lip puckering,
right.
like
ready to cooperate on anything that needed to be done. Most of the time, he looked more mentally disturbed than sad or remorseful. I think this dude was just fucked.
Well, they're both idiots.
Right.
Leslie Aberson did not help matters. She stood next to a lectern behind the counselor table and led Eric through his testimony like a drill sergeant.
Right.
Whenever Eric veered off course or tried to embellish an answer, she interrupted and barked out another question. Stay online. She's like,
Yes or no?
right. At times, she treated Eric like a hostile witness rather than her own client.
Yeah.
Her behavior may have been a reaction to the
Actually,
warnings.
That's actually perfect.
All right. Stay on track, motherfucker. Aberson's behavior may have been a reaction to the warnings Judge Weisberg had given her during the court sessions before Eric was to testify.
Wow.
At a sidebar conference, Lester Kuriyama had complained that Aberson had been caressing and holding Eric in front of the jury. Right. Kuriyama worried that this behavior made Eric appear childlike and innocent. That was her point.
Yeah.
Weisberg warned Aberson the conduct of counsel in touching and physically reacting to the defendants is an area of concern.
Right. It's true.
He told her counsel are to be acting as professionals, not nursemaids or surrogate mothers.
Right.
Yeah, you can't be doing that.
Right. Okay. So, and that part, if she is doing that, she knows that she ain't got shit. She has to do things to try to convince.
Make it appear, right?
Right. Eric testified that he believed that his parents would kill him. He also said that Kitty seemed to have magical powers. She knew where he went, who his friends were, everything he did.
Oh, my. Your mom knows about your friends and where you go?
My goodness, I guess I have magical powers.
Jeez.
Eric's statements seemed difficult to believe, especially from a 22-year-old man.
Quote, unquote. That's not quote, unquote.
Right. This was part of the defense's attempt to show that Lyle and Eric had been infantized by their father's control, and that neither bro was the age they appeared to be. Kind of like stepbros.
Yeah.
Eric testified about killing his parents and sexual abuse he allegedly suffered at Jose's hands. At one point in the testimony, Eric volunteered that he began to put cinnamon in his father's tea and coffee because he had heard from classmates that it made semen taste better. I'm sorry. Wait, what'd you say? What, man? Cinnamon makes semen taste better. Good to know. Where can I buy some? Does that be fresh or powdered? Well, most likely fresh, right? I would say fresh. What the fuck? What the hell? Like an Eric's getting facials every night. What the hell? Oh, wow. It seems difficult to believe that this actually occurred because cinnamon gives a fire. Now they're like, no, not cinnamon.
No. Well, they have a point here, though.
Right. It seems difficult to believe because cinnamon actually has a distinctive taste that Jose would have noticed.
Right, I think I would notice cinnamon in my coffee.
Right. Then you would have gotten an ass whipping for having cinnamon in the coffee.
So, dude, this whole shit is dumb.
Because if Jose's a Cuban, he's drinking his coffee straight black.
For sure.
Right.
I don't know how this has to do with being Cuban, but Lester Kuriyama repeatedly tried to bring up the issue of Eric's sexuality, but Judge Weisberg refused to allow it.
Oh, because Eric's gay.
Yeah, well, he got caught getting sucked off already. We know that.
Maybe he molested his dad.
And the dad was too embarrassed.
And he's like, why you keep on putting cinnamon in my fucking drink? He's like, you'll see.
You'll see. Kuriyama felt that it was relevant because the defense was trying to make it appear that Jose was a sexual predator. One witness had to testify to seeing gay porn magazines in the house. The implication being that they belonged to Jose, which could substantiate the claim that Jose had enjoyed sex with men.
He wasn't the only man in the house.
However,
and there was also a woman in the house.
If the magazines belonged to Eric, this would cast the issue in an entirely different light.
What about Kitty? Why weren't they kitties?
Why do you see gay porn magazines in somebody's house? Why are they being left out?
Right.
First of all,
they'll never be left out. I don't care. No one's ever going to leave their gay porn magazine out.
Porn any time.
Right. I don't care. So stupid. On a cross-examination, Eric seemed to have difficulty remembering details. Lester Kuriyama asked Eric questions about the killing of his parents, and Eric answered many of Kuriyama's questions with, I don't remember.
It was 4 years ago, to be clear. I mean,
that's not long enough.
I mean, I don't remember stuff from a year ago.
A murder, you would.
Maybe.
Kuriyama caught Eric in the biggest lie of the trial when he had Eric describe in meticulous detail the attempted purchase of 2 handguns on Friday, August 18, 1989. Eric testified he and Lau had driven to a Big Five store in Santa Monica and had looked at an assortment of handguns. Eric described how the handguns were displayed in a glass case, how he selected 2 handguns, and how he could not complete the purchase because California had a 15-day cooling off period. Cooling off. Hey, cool off, bud. We'll give you 15 days.
Hey, man. 15 days, you still want them. Come get them.
We'll let you have
whatever it is that happened before you came here, just give it some time.
Cool off, man.
Just think about it a little bit, all right?
I mean, we'll give them to you, but at least calm down.
Just sleep on it, all right?
Right. We don't want you all fired up, leaving out with a couple of hands.
Right, exactly, right. I mean, that's good. That is good.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a cooling off. Yeah, cooling off, man. It's good. Right. So, but think about that. How many people could have been like,
right,
got into a fight with somebody or something that day and like, oh, fuck him, I'll show him. But now you got a cooling off period.
Like, whoa, bud, calm down.
And now they rethink it.
If you still feel this way in 15 days, it's all yours.
But how many people legitimately went there and had the cooling off period and never came back after the 15 days because they were like, well, maybe not.
I'm sure a lot.
But
I'm sure.
Right.
Good. Because the bros believed that their lives were in imminent danger, they could not wait and did not purchase weapons.
Piss off, dude.
That's why they caught him in a lie. But Kuriyama asked Eric, now, you're telling the truth about everything in this case, aren't you? Eric answered, I'm telling you the truth to the best that I can.
So I can remember something. You legitimately can't remember everything.
Kuriyama asked Eric, did you truly go to the Santa Monica Big Five store on the morning of August 18th to buy these handguns? Eric answered, definitely, without a doubt I did. Then Kuriyama dropped a bombshell. Mr. Menendez, did you know that Big Five stopped carrying handguns in March of 1986?
And the court's like, oh!
This was a lie of huge proportion. Clearly, right? Clearly. That's a big lie, but why would they lie about that? Say they went to go get 2 handguns.
Because they clearly didn't go to get handguns. They clearly went to go get the shotguns first without thinking about handguns.
Eric fumbled for a response. No, I didn't know that. Mr. Kuriyama, there were guns there, and we did look at them. And he did say we could not carry them anymore.
Yeah, this dude's an idiot.
Oh, yeah. He's like, oh, I do remember now. He said,
now that you said that.
We can't carry these anymore, but just the ones that's in our case right here. No.
This was not the only inconsistency that Kuriyama caught Eric in. When Kuriyama questioned Eric about the television miniseries The Billionaire Boys Club, Eric denied that he had seen it.
He probably didn't.
He also admitted that he did not think his parents would have disinherited him.
He also did.
Up to this point in the cross-examination, Eric had testified that he thought his parents were going to disinherit him. After Kuriyama finished his cross-examination, Leslie Aberson tried to pick up the pieces. Eric told the court that he couldn't remember which Big Five store he and Lyle had visited.
What's that do to anything? They said that particular Big Five store.
You would think you would know what one you went to.
Wow. October 14th, the defense began a new phase of its case by attempting to explain why that Lyle and Eric believed that they were in danger of their lives from their parents, even though the parents were not armed. Ann Tyler, a Salt Lake City psychologist, was the first in a string of experts to testify. Tyler testified that the Menendez bros suffered from a condition called learned helplessness, fake, made up, that occurs as a result of intense, repeated abuse. Get the fuck out of here. Tyler testified that she had no doubt that Jose and Kitty had psychologically abused their young sons in virtually every way possible. Well, I get that there was some psychological abuse. Verbal, mental, right?
Clearly.
Bozanich cross-examined Tyler and noted that many of the worst anecdotes about the family were totally uncorroborated. Tyler noted that the naivete of the bros, they're so naive.
Clearly.
Right. It came across frequently when they testified and in completely accidental ways that, unlike crying, they would have difficulty faking. Right. You can fake crying, but you can't fake being naive.
You can't fake being stupid.
Right. You can't fix it. There was a softness, a hothouse plant delicacy to them. Even when they were caught off guard by a question and responded in a flash of anger that they quickly covered up. There was also the bizarre respect and love for their father. Wow. Like, dude. I mean, come on. The dude came up from Cuba and made himself a something, right?
Well, you remember even after Lyle had the little speech to Eric, Dad would have been proud and
right.
blah, blah, blah. So,
right. And
what do you say? I will not fail him twice.
Right. So all this, there's respect for Dad, even though they have killed them, but also seemed that the respect was genuine. They're like, hey, man.
Well,
dude did shit.
Right. During this time, Kitty's family began to speak to the news media about the defense and how she was being portrayed. Kitty's brother, Milton Anderson, told his hometown paper, the Daily Southtown, that the brothers' defense was bullshit.
Right.
He believed that Lyle and Eric killed because of greed. He said that the defense visited him and tried to convince him that his sister and brother-in-law were bad people.
Oh, shit.
Anderson told the paper, my sister didn't abuse her children. He felt that Jose and Kitty had not disciplined their sons enough.
Right. I believe that.
That's probably true.
Well, it brings us to the defense's second expert, which is Ann Burgess, who's a professor of psychiatric mental health nursing at the University of Pennsylvania and an expert in crime scene analysis. She examined the crime scene pictures of the Menendez family room and testified it was a disorganized crime. Oh, they're also trying to paint Kitty as a lazy piece of shit that never cleaned the house and blah, 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 blah.
Get out of here.
But she said it was a disorganized crime
They live
scene.
in a house that who lived in it? Elton John and
Prince.
Get out of here. You can tell me this is a mess.
Right.
I mean, I've seen it.
According to her, the crime scene was disorganized and could not have been the product of a premeditated murder. Okay. She also testified that the random nature of the wounds led her to believe that there was an overkill element of the crime, and this showed a lack of planning.
No, it's just the
Maybe
last.
they got carried away when they finally did it.
It was that last person said, the one before the other hand, is that they have these feelings inside so much, it's just like not one punch, but not one thing. You just go over and over and over, you know, once you finally get it out. Like I said, if you hold something inside or everything inside, and then that one thing makes you break, you're letting out everything you've held inside for the past however long since the last time you freaked out. October 21st, Jill Lansing's first expert witness testified. Stuart Hart, Indiana University professor, testified about belief that Lyle had been severely mistreated psychologically. Did he do any type of counseling with them to know? Can't just go by hearsay, right? John Conte was Lansing's next expert. He testified that he interviewed Lyle in jail for 60 hours during 1993 and believed he was telling the truth about the abuse because of the effect that Lyle had. The effect was shame and reluctance to talk about the abuse because it was embarrassing. Not out of here, man.
Okay. Well,
Your life's on the line.
right. Bozanich felt confident.
What else could be more embarrassing than you killed your own damn parents?
Some people wouldn't be embarrassed by it at all. Bozanich felt confident that the jurors did not believe the defense's expert witnesses or brother's stories of abuse.
I mean, I would.
She was so confident that she decided not to call her psychological expert, who had sat through much of the early portion of the trial. This may have been her biggest mistake during the trial.
Like we don't.
It worked out just fine for her in the end.
One of the last defense witness, Dr. Carrie English, medical director of the child abuse team at Martin Luther King Hospital in South Central LA. He testified that he found no evidence that Eric had been sodomized, although physical evidence of molestation is rare, especially in men, right?
Let's say, how would they even determine that? And it would be 20 years later or whatever the fuck.
Right. Dr. English had reviewed Eric's medical records from the time he was a child and found a curious reference to a 1977 injury.
Uh-oh.
The notion in Eric's medical file read, hurt posterior pharynx.
Posterior, man.
Posterior, yeah. Posterior. Uvola and soft palate healing well. Dr. English was asked if such an injury to the back of the throat could be caused by child abuse, and he answered, yeah, oral compilation. I mean, come on, that's an iron dick.
Copulation.
Right. That's an iron dick. There's no way.
You said oral compilation.
Copulation, I said.
You said compilation. It's a compilation of oral.
There are also other things that can cause such an injury, he said. Popsicle stick,
Yeah.
for instance, if he fell with the popsicle stick in his mouth.
True.
This injury was suspicious and the first physical evidence on the issue of abuse.
Oh.
All of the other abuse testimony had come from the brothers or from friends or family members who said they were given the information from the bros.
Right.
On cross-examination, Bozanich was able to have Dr. English admit there were other things that could cause injuries to the back of the throat. So
Right.
you are saying there's other things. Like, yeah, it could be anything.
Could be.
Iron
But
dick.
it's also suspicious that they accuse him of this. And what is the chances of having that type of injury?
Maybe he fell with a...
I don't know anybody that's personally ever fell with a popsicle stick and jammed down the throat. Ever. So they got lucky if they're making this up that
right.
he has that on his record. Ed Fenno had been a house guest of the Menendez family. He testified that Jose had been disappointed when Eric had turned down the opportunity to attend UC Berkeley in favor of UCLA. Jose thought that Berkeley was a better school academically, which it is, than UCLA, and was disappointed by Eric's decision. Okay.
UCLA's decent.
Yeah, Eric preferred UCLA because they had a better tennis team. We know that. Fenno's testimony showed that Eric had made the decision to attend UCLA on his own. Again, and
Yeah, whatever.
Bozanich asked Fenno if he ever saw Eric lie to his parents, and Fenno answered that it was somewhat common for both brothers to lie. Fucking kids, they lie?
Constant.
Wow.
The defense played the December 11th confession tape for the jurors after Judge Weisberg ruled that the defense had waived the patient-therapist privilege because they had made the mental state of the bros an issue during the trial.
Oh, remember that wasn't admissible at first.
Right. Now you saying these guys killed out of fear and that they're insane somewhat?
Let's hear it on the tape then. Huh?
Well, on that very tape, Lau can be heard discussing the reasons that his parents were moited. Lau had bragged on tape that he and Eric had shown great courage by killing their mother. Lau had also said he missed having these people around. I missed not having my dog around. Well, they killed a dog? If I can make such a gross analogy, there was a chilling and monotone quality to Lau's voice. It was empty and hollow. On the tape, there was no reference to sexual abuse. Jose had to be killed because he was controlling the bros' lives and was a bad husband. Mom had to be killed because she was there. Eric does not say much on the tape, but he can be heard crying in the background. Sobbing.
Of course he is. Oh, jeez.
Eric, you okay?
Well, Judalon Smith was called by the defense to discredit Oziel's testimony and testified
Judalon?
for 2 days.
Hell of a name. I'm taking whatever he says seriously.
Oh, that's a girl. Smith's
her.
testimony revolved around two themes. Oziel had manipulated and bullied her into a relationship, and many of her earlier statements about what she knew about Lyle and Eric were mistaken.
Oh, were they, though?
Smith's own credibility was questionable. She had given a long affidavit to the police and had testified behind closed doors before Judge Albright on the admissibility of the tapes. She had also appeared on television. Right. So why are you putting her on the stand?
Bozanich was angry that Smith was recanting her earlier statements. Something's going on there. Bozanich believed that Smith was angry at the district attorney's office for not filing rape charges against Oziel. Okay. Then she's like, you know what? I ain't helping you guys out with those Menendez bros.
Right.
Bozanich had referred Smith to the DA's sex crimes division, which had rejected the case because of insufficient evidence. Bozanich cross-examined Smith about the different versions of the story she had told, and Smith answered that she was not responsible for her earlier answers because Oziel had brainwashed her. It wasn't me. I didn't know.
Right.
By the time her testimony ended, it appeared that jurors had a difficult time believing Smith, right? Her credibility is just out the window now. Smith was the last of 56 witnesses called by the defense.
Jeez, I thought they whittled it down to 50. Well, the aim of the prosecution's rebuttal witnesses was to contradict the stories told by the brothers about the days leading up to the murders and to rehabilitate the reputations of Jose and Kitty. One rebuttal witness who testified was Grant Walker, who was a man who cleaned pools for a living and also cleaned Kitty's vaginal walls.
Right.
He testified that he was at the Menendez mansion
It may be Eric's vaginal mouth.
Right. Fixing the switch on the automatic spot control Saturday, August 19th, the day before the murders. He said that he saw Lyle playing tennis with another man while Eric stood next to Jose and Kitty, who were seated at a patio table pulled up to the tennis court. Walker testified that he witnessed Kitty speaking to Lyle about his tennis game. Lyle responded in anger, quote unquote, and used the vulgarity. Shut the fuck up, Mom.
I got it.
Trying to
Jeez.
concentrate. And Jose's like, Lyle. Walker said that Eric also seemed angry with his parents.
I mean, come on.
This exchange occurred around 2 p.m. in the afternoon. This was before the boat, apparently. Huh? This is powerful evidence. According to the stories that Menendez brothers had told, they had purposely stayed away from the house because they feared their parents.
Oh.
Right, but there they are, right there. Well, they were using a tennis court,
Right,
though.
they're
They couldn't do
playing
nothing about the parents sitting there.
Flor Soria was the Menendez family housekeeper and had slept in the mansion Monday through Friday during the time she was employed by the family. She testified that she never saw Kitty or Jose yelling at the bros. Soria also testified that she did not hear Lyle cry as his toupee was allegedly pulled off on that earlier Tuesday, and that she did not hear any other noise from the fight that Jose was supposed to have had with Eric on the Thursday before the Moitas. So she's like, I didn't hear any of that shit. She ain't working now, so what she has to say, you know?
I'm sure she's working for somebody else.
Right.
All right. Well, Jamie Pisarcik,
The toupee, dude, that's going to be forever fun.
or Jamie Pisarcik, I think, testified she had been Lyle's girlfriend on and off for about 3 years. Relationship continued after Lyle was arrested until one day in December 1990 when Jamie, having grown suspicious of Lyle, asked him to tell her the truth.
Uh-oh.
Jamie testified that Lyle told her he had lied to her and that the truth was that he killed his parents.
Obviously, they don't know that.
The reason for the murders was that Jose had been molesting Eric and that Kitty had molested Lyle. So she's confirming it. Jamie told Lyle that she did not believe him, and shortly after this exchange took place, they broke up. She also testified in 1987 she had gone with Lyle to purchase a toupee in Birmingham, Alabama, and that she and Eric had a conversation about the toupee in 1988, which Eric claims he didn't even know he had a toupee until the mom ripped it off, right?
No.
Yes.
Oh, Eric, yeah.
Yeah.
Eric didn't know.
But now she's saying that he knew about it before then.
See.
This was a whole nother hole in the defense
That's
case.
something stupid to lie about, though.
Like I just mentioned, he said he didn't
Right.
know about it. Jill Lanson attacked Pisarcik's credibility and portrayed her as a gold digger that dreamed. Oh, she broke up with the guy,
Right.
dreamed about marrying into a wealthy family, only to have those dreams destroyed when her fiance admitted that he was a killer.
I don't think that was the
could
case.
be it, though.
Maybe, yeah, because she knew after they get out, they're going to be rich. Kitty's bro, Brian Anderson, testified that Eric was not timid and appeared to him to have a puffed up ego. Like he was, I'm next in line, baby.
Well, that'd be Lyle.
Yeah, Eric, well, I'm next in line after Lyle, baby. Both bros were not reluctant to use vulgar language when talking to their parents or spend their parents' money, obviously. Jose had told Anderson that Lyle had to learn support. He has to learn to support himself. I'm going to tell you that, Anderson. He's like, dude, you can call me Brian. We're brother-in-laws.
He's like, Anderson, come here.
Anyhow, he was like, Lyle has to learn to support himself and that he and Kitty were not going to pay his way forever. You will, though. The defense countered Anderson's testimony by showing that he had an interest in Kitty's estate and had filed a document in probate court claiming his family would stand to inherit if it were proven that Kitty died after Jose.
Oh, this guy, well, it's true.
They're like, dude, she was alive for like 5 minutes after.
Marlene Eisenberg, Jose's secretary for 14 years, testified about Lyle and Eric's behavior after their parents' memorial service. Eisenberg had ridden in the limousine with the brothers after the memorial service. Lyle asked Eisenberg, who said I couldn't feel my father's shoes. Sarcastic. Well, not sarcastic, but cockily. Eisenberg told Lyle to make your own tracks in life and don't try to fill his shoes.
Right.
Lyle then extended a tasseled loafer and said, you don't understand. These are my father's shoes.
These guys are deranged, man.
No, you seriously don't understand. I literally have my dad's shoes on.
Right. He's like, no, dude, seriously.
And they filled them pretty nice.
If you look in the coffin right now.
He's not going to need them.
The defense called Dr. Vickery, or Vickery,
Vicari?
sure, as a witness to counter the rebuttal witnesses and support the validity of the alleged sexual abuse. Dr. Vickery testified that Eric was a basket case, pathetic,
Pathetic little wimp.
wimpy, a hopeless mess. That's when he first met him in jail. That's what he thought about Eric. Eric had told Vickery about the molestation in August of 1990, after Eric had undergone months of therapy and was taking antidepressant medication and tranquilizers. Rather than question Vickery's opinion of Eric's mental state and issue of the abuse, Bozanich asked Vickery how much he had earned from his work on the case. Bozanich asked if the reason that Eric was so upset in jail was because he was facing Moida charges, and Vickery said no. He was quite shocked to see that Eric liked it in jail. He was like,
I bet he did.
Vickery added that Eric found the first time in his life there was no pressure on him.
Well, it's only in him. Mark Heffernan was the last witness who testified at the trial. He was called by the defense to lessen the testimony of the pool man, Grant Walker, which we know his testimony about the tennis. Heffernan testified that he was the brothers' tennis coach during the summer of '89 and denied being at the Menendez mansion that day. There's a lion. Why would they have anybody else?
Might have been Heffernan. It could have been a bud.
Doubt it. Maybe, right?
Before closing arguments began, Judge Weisberg gave the prosecution another victory when he declined to give the juries an instruction that could have led to an acquittal. What was the obstruction? Or instruction? Weisberg said that there was simply no evidence that an average person would have been in fear of his life, as the bros said they were, given the events that occurred on the 20th of August, 1989. Weisberg would have allowed the juries to consider a manslaughter verdict, though, which is only like 2 to 5.
Well, Michael Burt began his closing argument by telling Lyle's jurors that they must consider that the murders were carried out while the brothers were in a state of fear and panic that followed a year after year of abuse by bullying parents.
I don't think so.
Burt said that Lyle was operating like an unthinking robot on the night of August 20th and that he shot his parents on instinct and not a part of his carefully thought out plan.
Was there one, though?
Burt argued that the circumstances under which the murders took place did not meet the legal standards for first degree of murder.
Really? Bozanich responded by stating that this is not a complicated case. These two people were watching TV. And they got slaughtered by their own sons.
I mean, no lies there.
She challenged Burt's idea that the bros did not plan the moitus, pointing out that they drove to San Diego to purchase shotguns, which is, in California, 3-hour drive. Bozanich also quoted from the transcript of Oziel's session where Lyle said that there'd be no way he would have carried out the shootings alone, and they decided to let Eric sleep on the plan.
Okay. Well, Jill Lanson walked the jurors through the crime and asked them to consider the entire event dating back to Lyle's childhood sexual molestation.
They're still allegedly. Nothing's been.
Bozanich was sarcastic and bited in her closing statement. She called Lyle and Eric spoiled, vicious brats who got the best defense daddy's money could buy.
I think that's true.
If this is the best defense daddy's money can buy, then he's not very rich.
Right. But they're definitely spoiled.
All right. At one point, Bozanich said of the defense, for all those children who were severely abused and who became useful members of society, this defense is an offense. Ooh. An offense. I take offense to this defense.
Right. During her 3-day closing argument, Abramson explained away problems with the defense, accused prosecution witnesses of being liars. So now you got to charge them with perjury.
Right.
Publicity seekers, liars, publicity seekers, and attacked Dr. Oziel himself.
Yeah, he was a creepy guy.
Toward the end of the argument, Abramson finally did something that the prosecution had hoped Eric would have done 3 years earlier. She broke ranks with Lyle. She told the jurors,
"Oh,
I don't want Eric to be taking the rap for what his brother did."
Oh, she kind of brought off.
But that came out of nowhere.
I wonder if Eric had approved that.
And she also added, the evidence in this case does not prove that Eric killed anybody.
But it does. But he said it. Lester Kiriyama's final argument was completed in 3 hours. Told the jury that he would not attempt to dazzle them, but instead asked the jury to base your decision in this case on common sense. He told the jury that...
That's Lyle's lawyer.
Right. No, that's the prosecution.
Kiriyama?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right.
He told the jury that Eric was homosexual, and the reason he raised the issue was that if the defendant were engaging in consensual sex with other men, that would account for him being able to describe what he described for you, his sexual encounters with his father.
Right.
Oh, so he's saying he's using his encounters with his boyfriends or whatever and saying it was dad.
Right.
Oh, Kiriyama went on to tell the jury that Jose had not forced Eric into homosexual acts, but was in fact furious that Eric was gay.
Right. Judge Weisberg gave Lyle and Eric's juries 4 choices in deciding the bros' fate. The juries could find the bros guilty of first-degree moida with special circumstances. They can also find the bros guilty of second-degree moida. They could also find the bros guilty of voluntary manslaughter. Or they can find the bros guilty of involuntary manslaughter.
Or they can not find him guilty at all. That's 5 options.
Right. Lyle and Eric each face sentencing on 3 counts. The murder of Jose, the murder of Kitty, and the charge of conspiracy to commit moida.
January 13th, 1994, after 16 days of deliberation, Eric's jury announced that it was deadlocked and unable to reach an agreement on any of the counts. Ooh.
Oh, wow.
January 25th, after deliberating for 24 days, Lyle's jury announced that it was deadlocked. Juries for both brothers were polarized over whether the brothers were killers or long-suffering victims of abuse.
What was going on here?
Guess what? Judge Weisberg declared mistrials in both cases.
What?
And the brothers are like, we're free!
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
We're free!
The outcomes of the cases were a victory for the defense. Only 3 of the jurors on Lyle's jury voted for the most serious charge of first-degree murder of the shooting of his father, Jose, while 5 did so on Eric's. Jill Garcetti, the district attorney who replaced Ira Rainier,
Wow, so they think Eric's more guilty than Lyle, huh? But they have different juries.
right, said that the Menendez bros would be retried and that he would rather have a hung jury than a manslaughter verdict because this is a murder case. Mistrial.
Just a mistrial you can prevent, or you can go back and retry. If the case was dismissed, now that's a different thing.
Damn.
Well, February 28, 1995, Judge
2 years
Weisberg
later?
set a trial date of June 12, 1995 for the retrial of the Menendez brothers.
So they got out? So they're out for 2 years?
Yeah, the accused is not convicted or found innocent, so probably stayed in jail, dude. February 28, 1995, Judge Weisberg set a trial date of June 12, 1995 for the retrial of the Menendez brothers. It was then postponed a number of times and actually began in August of 95. April of 95, Judge Weisberg ruled the brothers would be retried together again in front of a single jury this time. Weisberg ruled that the advantages of a single trial greatly outweigh the potential prejudice.
For the retrial, David Kahn, a veteran Los Angeles County Assistant District Attorney, holy shit, and Assistant District Attorney Carol Najara replaced Pam Bozanich and Lester Kuriyama. Uh-oh. Kahn had 18 years experience and was acting head deputy of the Major Crimes Unit of the L.A. County District Attorney's Office.
Well, Abramson continued to represent Eric, although she was paid by the taxpayers of Los Angeles County because the estate had run out of money.
Oh, shit.
That's that.
Yeah.
Abramson was assisted by Barry Levin, who was a Los Angeles criminal defense attorney. The L.A. County Superior Court declared both Lyle and Eric indigent, poor, needy. True. Damn. Imagine having that be heard in the courtroom after all these guys are like, Lyle qualified for representation by the public defender's office. Jill Lanson no longer represented Lyle and was replaced by Charles Gessler, a Los Angeles County public defender, who was considered the dean of the death penalty bar.
Oh.
This would be Gessler's last case before retiring.
Uh-huh.
He was assisted by Deputy Public Defender Terry Towery.
Fantastic. Who's taking over from?
I'm assuming Abramson got paid way less than what she would have by the brothers because of the state's paying. So she loved Eric or something, dude.
Right.
Something was going on with those two.
August 21st, 1995, jury selection began in the retrial of the Menendez bros. October 11th, 1995, opening statements began. Judge Weisberg ruled that the trial would not be televised because it would increase the risk that the jurors would be exposed to information and commentary about the case outside of the courtroom. Should have done that in the first place.
Right.
Weisberg also limited the number of witnesses the defense was able to call regarding allegations of abuse.
This dude's just trying to make them go to jail. Why should there be a limited number of
Unlimited.
Right.
During the retrial, 64 witnesses testified. This was in contrast to the first trial where 101 witnesses testified. The retrial lasted 23 weeks and more closely resembled a regular murder trial, and somber, gruesome, and occasionally dull, rather than the media spectacle of the first trial.
Right. During the 2.5 years between trials, Kahn studied the mistakes made by Bozanich and Kuriyama to make sure he did not repeat them. And the biggest mistake of the first trial, which was Bozanich's decision not to address the allegations of years of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse.
Right.
Bozanich and Kuriyama had ignored it all, guessing incorrectly that jurors would too.
Right.
Well, they're idiots.
Right.
Why would they ignore the whole basis of the defense's idiots? The prosecution hired Dr. Park Elliott Dietz, a well-known forensic psychiatrist, to assist them.
Well, Kahn presented a new theory, the way in which the killings were carried out. Kahn decided not to call Dr. Ozil to testify and instead planned to play a tape of the bros confessing to the Moitas. Kahn vigorously attacked the defense theory that the bros suffered from battered person syndrome and was successful in having Judge Weisberg rule that the defense could not present this theory to the jury.
Why, dude?
Wow. At the first trial, Bozanich believed that this defense applied to the bros.
In his opening statement, Kahn argued that Menendez brothers were motivated by greed when they ambushed their parents.
That's true.
He illustrated his points by showing jurors autopsy and crime scene photos. Kahn said that the brothers were carrying their dead parents safe to the home of the probate attorney 24 hours after they murdered their parents.
Wow.
Kahn argued that the brothers were trying to get their hands on their parents' money as fast as they could,
Right,
and they were.
They knew they're about to be kicked out. Aberson countered that the bros killed out of the mind-numbing, adrenaline-pumping fear that their parents would kill them, but threatened to expose the family's secrets. Aberson told the jury that we will prove to you that Eric was tortured, terrorized, exploited, molested, abused to such a state he lived in a constant state of fear. Charles Gessler told the jurors that the bros believed that their parents had supernatural powers and knew everything about their son's activities. Gessler argued that the prosecution's theory that the bros wanted their parents' money was wrong because Lyle and Eric thought that their parents had disowned them.
Well, technically, they did say that. Kahn began the prosecution's case by playing 3 tapes that incriminated the brothers. First tape Kahn played was of the brothers being interviewed by members of the Beverly Hills Police Department. The interview took place 1 month after the murders, and the brothers were heard saying that they had not had any problems with their parents and discussing their activities on the day of the murders.
Right.
Kahn next played the tape of the brothers admitting to Ozio that they killed them, and the last one was of Lyle's 911 call, where Kahn told the juries that the brothers have spun a web of lies after the killings and turned to tears so they would not suspect.
Well, obviously. I mean, smart. Perry Berman's testimony was similar to that of his testimony during his first trial. He testified that Jose was critical of Lyle's taste in women and was a strict parent. Judge Weisberg limited the scope of Terry Towery's cross-examination, throwing out as irrelevant some questions that probed recollections that cast Jose in a negative light. Oh, now we can't do that, huh?
That just doesn't make any sense to me. It's so dumb.
Right.
They're like screwing these guys over.
During the second week of trial, the prosecution presented evidence to support its theory that greed motivated the bros to kill their parents. Claire Wright, the wife of a probate attorney that the bros retained, testified that the bros brought a safe to their home, hoping to find a copy of their parents' will inside.
Wait, they actually did bring a safe.
Wow.
Jeez.
Literally. Wright had not testified at the bros' first trial because prosecutors did not know about the safe until after the first trial was over.
Wow.
The safe was opened 2 days after the murders when Brian Anderson and Carlos Barral, the bros' uncles, could be present. The safe was empty.
Huh. That's like a,
Why would you have a safe that's empty?
like a,
It's like a booby trap? Not a booby trap, but a deploy. What do they call it? A ploy?
a ploy, yeah. But it's like when Geraldo Rivera unearthed fucking Al Capone's safe.
Right.
There's nothing inside of it. Carlos Barat testified that 2 months before the murders, Jose told him he wanted to disinherit his sons. Kahn asked Barat if he knew of any evidence that Jose sexually abused his sons, and Barat answered no. Cross-examination, Barat was asked by Leslie Abramson why Jose had talked about disinheriting his sons, and Barat answered that Jose was disappointed that Lyle was failing academically at Princeton, and that, in Jose's opinion, Eric lacked talent, toughness, and forcefulness.
Oh, wow.
Probably true.
During the third week of trial, Kahn announced Dr. Erwin Goldwyn, the coroner who performed the autopsies on Jose and Kitty, would not testify at this trial. Goldwyn had testified at the first trial, but he could not say for certain how many shots were fired or the sequence of shots that killed the couple. He's like, so I'm not doing it again. After 1995, Goldwyn was heavily criticized for the mistakes he made in autopsies on Nicole Brown Smith.
That's why he didn't get called back.
And Ronald Goldman. And was not called by the prosecution in the O.J. Simpson case because of those mistakes.
Wow.
Kahn had Dr. Roger McCarthy reconstruct shootings. Using his reconstruction, McCarthy was able to determine the sequence of shots, and he was able to show that the murders were premeditated and deliberate.
Prosecution attacked the credibility of the brothers by introducing portions of a letter that Lyle had written in 91 to Amir Eslamania, who was a potential defense witness. The letter asked him to testify falsely that the brothers had asked him to loan them a handgun. Eslamania was a former classmate of Eric at Beverly Hills High School. Neither the letter nor Eslamania played a role in the first trial because the police learned about him and the letter in 1995. Really? Wait a minute. So they watched this Billionaire Boys Club documentary or whatever, supposedly the Menendez brothers, and the whole time he went to school with the dude's son?
I guess so.
But they killed his father as part of an extortion plot. His brother Reza was imprisoned for his role in the crime. Gessler told the jury that Lyle did not want to go through with the plot. Abramson tried to show that Eric had nothing to do with Lyle's plan.
Oh. Kahn called a private pathologist, Robert Lawrence, to support the prosecution's new theory of the crime scene. The prosecution believed that Lyle and Eric executed their parents and then shot them in the leg in order to make the murders appear to be organized crime hits. Lawrence illustrated his testimony with wooden mannequins pierced with wooden rod to demonstrate his conclusions regarding the angles of the shotgun blast. Lawrence testified that Jose was struck 4 times and Kitty was struck 9 times with shotgun blasts.
Thought it was 10.
And that they were shot in the head and extremities, but were not shot in their torso. Lawrence also testified that Jose was seated on the sofa when he was shot and that the wound to his thigh was inflicted after he had died. The fatal shot was fired at the point-blank range to the back of Jose's head, obviously. Most of the shots to Kitty occurred when she was lying on the floor, and that some of the shots to Kitty's arms, hands, and shoulder indicated that she might have been cowering, obviously. Aberson tried to show that the blood patterns on the shirt Jose was wearing indicated that the shots might have been fired in the direction that Lawrence claimed they were.
Might not have been.
Right.
Roger McCarthy of Failure Analysis Associates reconstructed the murders shot by shot and showed the jurors a computer-generated recreation of them. McCarthy was the prosecution's star witness and testified that the brothers surprised their parents as they sat in front of the television set in the family room, or den, whatever you want to say. McCarthy testified that Jose and Kitty were sitting side by side on a sofa when they were attacked, and the brothers aimed kneecapping shots at their parents to make the killings look like a mafia hit. Brothers maintained throughout their trial that their parents were standing when the shooting began. Why? When it was already the crime scene photos show him sitting on the couch.
Right. Gessler questioned McCarthy about his qualifications to examine the Menendez murder. The murder scene. McCarthy testified that he had never visited a crime scene or witnessed an autopsy, and that he had never seen the impact of a gunshot wound on a human body. He also conceded that he did not consult with the coroner or criminalists before reaching his conclusions about the Menendez murders.
Oh, so yeah, who's this guy?
Yeah, who's this guy? He's like, I believe it's like us walking here like, I'll tell you what. This shit happened like this.
Right. November 20th, Conn rested the state's case against the brothers. He had called 30 witnesses. The cornerstone of the state's case was McCarthy's computer-generated reconstruction. Conn used the reconstruction to demonstrate to the jurors that the brothers had deliberately and methodically killed their parents.
Right.
The reconstruction was strongly disputed by the defense, obviously, and contradicted by the brothers' testimony in the first trial, where the brothers testified they fired their shotguns in a blind panic.
Right. Wow. Okay, so now we're getting some different stuff going on here. The defense began its case by calling Martin Fackler, an expert on wound ballistics. Fackler testified that McCarthy reconstruction could not be considered scientific because it contained too many errors. Fackler said that no one could design a reconstruction of the Menendez crime scene because there were too many variables. Under Conn's cross-examination, Fackler demonstrated that he did not know the facts of the Menendez case as well as McCarthy did. He's like, what, Menendez? I don't know.
Wait, who's that? Who's that?
They just called me. I was just walking by.
All right. During Abronson's redirect examination of Fackler, she told the jury about the defense's newest version of events that occurred the night of the murders. She said that the brothers had entered the family room and Jose and Kitty were standing in front of the couch facing them. Eric began to shoot randomly at his parents. Lyle was to Eric's right and began to fire a shotgun as he walked around the room. Lyle fired the contact wound to Jose's head. Abronson did not describe the shooting to Kitty, but she said that she was standing as shots were fired. Supposedly.
Abronson called Ron Linhart, the assistant director of LA Sheriff's Department Crime Lab, to rebuke the conclusions reached by Roger McCarthy. Linhart testified that his blood spatter analyst contradicted much of McCarthy's reconstruction, and that his analysts showed that Jose and Kitty must have been standing at some point during the shootings.
Well, Kitty clearly was when she tried to get up. Dwight Van Horn testified as a defense witness. Cool, Dwight. The first trial, he had testified as a prosecution witness about the type of shotguns used. Van Horn testified that McCarthy's reconstruction was junk science because it ignored evidence in some instances and it lacked in others.
Right.
Conn attacked Van Horn and suggests that he resented the prosecutors using McCarthy's firm instead of the sheriff's department for the crime scene reconstruction.
Right. Yeah.
Could be it too, right?
Bad blood there, huh? Dr. Cyril Wett, a well-respected pathologist from Pennsylvania, testified for the defense that any reconstruction of the shootings was doomed to failure because the victims and the defendants were all moving during the killings. Charles Morton testified that the blood patterns and shotgun pellet holes in the clothing of Jose and Kitty contradicted the prosecution's reconstruction of the crime scene as well. Morton testified that the physical evidence at the crime scene indicated that Kitty was standing when she was shot. Morton further testified that the blood patterns on and around the family room couch and on Jose's clothing indicated that he had been shot while standing as well, except for the shot to the back of his head.
So maybe they shot him and he collapsed on the couch and then they blew his head off. December 6th, Eric began the first day of 15 days of testimony. His testimony began much like it did in the first one, where he described details of the abuse. Under Barry Levine's guidance, Eric testified that his parents were violent. Kitty humiliated and degraded him, and Jose beat and molested him. Eric told the jury that he loved his parents and that he did not kill them out of hatred or for money or because of abuse. He testified that the brothers feared their parents would kill them because they threatened to reveal the alleged sexual abuse.
Oh, get out of here. So now everybody's killers in that family.
Right.
During the third day, Eric's testimony, Judge Weisberg limited his testimony about the allegations of early childhood.
I don't understand. Why is this judge limiting the defense's stuff, dude?
I don't know, but the judge rejected as irrelevant some of the stories the defense wanted to introduce.
That's so sad.
The judge also limited testimony that had little to do with the bros' state of mind at the time they killed their parents. Wow.
I guess, yeah, you don't want junk testimony for what?
The defense argued that the bros' early childhood trauma was critical for the jury to hear so that they could understand why the bros thought their parents were going to kill them. Eric testified that Jose had told him that they had been written out of the will because he was not living up to Jose's expectations. Eric also testified about the circumstances leading up to the tape confession at Ozil's office.
Well, Kahn set out to portray Eric as a liar. He pointed out to the jury that Eric had lied for 6 months to the police, his family, and friends about the murders before he and Lyle were arrested. Well, of course.
Right.
Kahn attacked Eric's claims that his father had forced sex upon him at the age of 18 when Eric had a car and money to leave his parents' home.
All right.
Kahn asked Eric why he did not join the army, and Eric said that the army would not have protected him from his father because his father was the most powerful man I've ever met.
Oh, get out of here.
Eric, well, it's probably true.
Right.
One powerful man he's ever met.
Right.
Eric later conceded that there were no living witnesses to the sexual abuse. Living? Well, clearly, the other two are dead.
Right.
Kahn raised the issue of Eric's sexual orientation to show that it was a source of tension in the Menendez family.
I don't know, man. Maybe. Because Eric had tendered his mental state as part of his defense, Judge Weisberg ruled that Eric had to undergo a psychological examination by Dr. Deitz. January 9th, 1996, Eric completed his testimony by attempting to explain questions raised by the prosecution during his 8 days of cross-examination. Eric said that he and his bro did not concoct stories of child abuse in order to avoid MOIDA convictions. No, the death penalty. That's why he did it.
Right. Dr. John Wilson, a psychology professor from Cleveland State University, testified that Eric suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder at the time he killed his parents. He testified that the cause of Eric's disorder was the repeated acts of sexual, physical, and psychological abuse that he experienced. Wilson said Eric suffered from the classic symptoms of PTSD that included nightmares and amnesia. This was the first time that the jurors had heard a specific diagnosis applied to Eric. Wilson did not testify at the first trial.
Really? 12th of January, Charles Gessler completely changed the direction of Lyle's defense. Gessler told the court that he planned to argue that Lyle killed his parents in the heat of passion. That fear and anger overwhelmed him on the 20th of August, 1989, when he and Eric murdered their parents. During the first trial, Lyle testified that he killed his parents out of the honest and mistaken belief that his parents were going to kill him, and that he was afraid for him and his bro's life. Gessler now told the jury that Lyle was a reasonable man who reacted out of fear, anger, and passion. At the first trial, the defense used the imperfect self-defense theory and argued that the bros could not be judged by the standard of what a reasonable person would do because of years of abuse caused to the bros to see danger differently than a normal person.
Well, the reason that Lyle's attorneys changed defense strategies was that Lyle did not want to testify because of damaging impeachment evidence the prosecution had gathered since the first trial.
Right.
Lyle was considered a sympathetic witness during the first trial. However, prosecutors had tape-recorded conversations between Lyle and Norma Novelli, which is Lyle's one-time confidant, where Lyle describes how he snowed the jury at his first trial with his testimony about abuse. Wow. Prosecution also discovered a letter Lyle had written to a former girlfriend, instructing her on how to testify at the first trial.
Is that a movie? Letters from Lyle?
Could be. Because Lyle did not testify, his attorneys were not able to call child abuse experts to testify about his state of mind.
Oh.
Without his testimony, he was not able to use the same defense as he had in his first trial.
Nope. At the very beginning of the trial, the bros had mounted a joint defense. However, as the trial wore on, Gessler relied almost completely on Abronson's witnesses and called very few on behalf of Lyle. As a result, Lyle remained somewhat of an enigma to the jury. Toward the end of the defense case, Judge Weisberg ruled that 6 witnesses who had testified at the first trial were irrelevant to do this one. He's like, no, you're not allowed to bring those mofos. Weisberg ruled that the parents' alleged psychological mistreatment of the bros was irrelevant. Wow.
This judge is...
Psychological mistreatment of the bros was irrelevant? Okay, Judge.
Wow. January 30th, after presenting 25 witnesses, the defense rested.
All right, but what are you going to do? What else?
The judge won't let him do anything.
Like, shit.
Judge Weisberg limited the number of mental health experts in the defense was allowed to present. Why is it the only one getting limited is the defense?
Well, the prosecution ain't going to bring none in now.
In the first trial, the defense presented 5 experts. At the second trial, the defense was only allowed to present 1.
Oh, wow.
Get out of here. In addition, in addition, the defense was not allowed to present the testimony of Dr. William Vickery, who was a psychiatrist who treated Eric since 1990.
Why not?
They were planning. They needed to get these guys in jail. This is sad because OJ got off, so now they needed another big win.
The prosecution began its rebuttal on the 5th of February, 1996. Jamie Pisarcik testified that Eric knew that Lau wore a toupee as early as 1988. Against the toupee thing. Pisarcik's testimony called into question a major part of the defense's case, that a number of confrontations between Jose and Kitty and Lyle and Eric led to the moitas. Nah, I don't know.
Okay. Dietz testified that Eric did not suffer from any disorder that would impair his ability to make rational decisions on the night he murdered his parents. He diagnosed Eric as suffering from generalized anxiety disorder, the inability to control his restlessness, worry, and irritability.
Okay.
Dietz had interviewed Eric for 16 hours at the Beverly Hills Police Department. The defense contended that Eric suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder.
Nah, get out of here.
Dietz testified that it was impossible to diagnose Eric with this disorder because he had no way of knowing if the events were actually true.
Right.
Dietz were also rejected other conclusions presented by the defense's expert witnesses. He testified that Eric did not suffer from learned helplessness,
Right, whatever
which is
hell
a
that
symptom
is.
of PTSD.
Right.
Dietz pointed out that Eric bought 2 shotguns, loaded his weapon, and went to the shooting range to learn how to fire it.
Exactly.
This behavior showed rebelliousness and assertiveness inconsistent with the passiveness of learned helplessness.
Right. Judge Weisberg did not allow Vickery to testify as he had in the first trial. When he testified, he believed Eric's claims of molestation and that Eric killed his parents out of fear. Vickery was allowed to testify as a rebuttal witness regarding Eric's anxiety disorders, though. The result was that Vickery was a much less effective witness during the second trial.
Yeah, I wonder why. When you didn't include him in the most important part of his trial or of his questioning.
16th February, Judge Weisberg ruled that there was insufficient evidence that the bros were in imminent danger when they fatally shot the parents, and that the imperfect self-defense jury instruction that the defense sought would not be read to the jury after closing arguments. The imperfect self-defense theory was at the center of the defense in the first trial and convinced some jurors on each of the 2 panels to vote to convict the bros of manslaughter instead of moita.
Well, the judge ruled that the defense could argue that the brothers shot Jose in the heat of the passion, but not Kitty.
Oh.
Weisberg ruled that there was sufficient evidence to show that Jose might have provoked his sons into committing a homicide, but there was insufficient evidence to show that Kitty provoked her sons.
Right.
February 20th, Kahn began the first of 4 days of closing arguments. Why so long? He ridiculed the brothers' claims of abuse as the silliest, most ridiculous story ever told in a courtroom.
You ain't kidding.
Throughout his closing argument, Kahn's tone was belittling and sarcastic. He urged the jurors to find the brothers guilty of first-degree murder and not manslaughter. He attacked the testimony of Eric and said that it was self-serving and filled with lies and inconsistencies. He also told jurors that they should reject Eric's claims that his father sexually abused them.
Oh, just rejected altogether, huh? 26th February, Abramson began the first of 3 days of closing arguments. She accused David Kahn of presenting fraudulent witnesses in an effort to win a case for political reasons. That's where we're kind of leaning to right now.
Right.
Someone was in that judge's chamber. I wonder who. Abramson was trying to point out to the jury that the L.A. County District Attorney's Office was under enormous pressure to win a big case after losing the McMartin preschool molestation cases, the first Menendez trial, and the O.J. Simpson murder trial.
Yeah. The spotlight is on these guys as being idiots, and this judge is clearly helping them out so bad right now. Like, it's ridiculous.
It's bad news. She attacked Kahn for using the tape confession from December 11, 1989. Why? Abramson attacked the prosecution theory that the bros fired shots at Jose and Kitty's knees in order to make the killings appear to be mafia hit. She also argued that the crime scene indicated that the killings were highly emotional overkill and not a professional hit.
Well, it wouldn't be professional anyway.
Nobody's paying these guys to murder anybody.
Right. Abramson told the jury that Eric had a mental disorder, PTSD, and was in a state of mind at the time of the killings where he did not harbor malice. Abramson attacked the prosecution's theory.
He didn't harbor malice at the palace?
She attacked the prosecution's theory that the brothers killed for money. Parricide doesn't happen for money, she said. Abramson concluded her closing arguments with an emotional plea. She told the jury how close she had grown to Eric,
Oh, geez.
and that it would be the ultimate tragedy in her life if he were convicted.
Well,
Weird.
that's
Weird.
that is-
I'd convict him just for that.
right. But like, you need to stay away from her.
Right.
Gessler's closing argument was low key. He attacked prosecution arguments that the bros killed their parents in order to get their hands on their money. He said that Lyle believed he was disinherited and would lose his means of support if his parents died. So why would he do that? Gessler asked the jurors to find Lyle not guilty of murdering Kitty and guilty only of manslaughter in the death of Jose. Gessler compared the Menendez case to a Greek tragedy, suggesting that Jose and Kitty had brought on their own demise because of fatal mortal flaws. Gessler added that Jose caused his own death by molesting his sons and making them believe that they could not escape from his grasp. The bros felt that their only option was to arm themselves. Gessler then argued that Kitty brought about her own death by not protecting her sons and by making them believe that she was an enforcer of her husband's abuse.
February 29th, closing arguments ended with Kahn telling the jury that Lyle and Eric blamed their victims, put their parents on trial, created a clever abuse excuse, and told many lies in order to justify shooting their parents. March 1st, the jury began to deliberate. March 14th, Judge Weisberg removed 2 female jurors, including the foreperson, for medical reasons.
Oh, sure.
Foreperson had suffered a heart attack, and another female juror had gone into premature labor.
Damn, a heart attack.
One male alternative and one female alternative juror replaced the 2 female jurors.
Uh-oh.
Jury deliberations would begin all over. Second jury consisted of 8 men and 4 women.
20th of March, 4 days of deliberation. The jury came back and convicted the Menendez bros each of 2 counts of first-degree murder, as well as conspiracy to commit murder. Jurors also found that there were 2 special circumstances attached to the murders: lying in wait and multiple murder. Because special circumstances were found, there were only 2 sentencing options: life in prison without the possibility of parole, or death by execution. The same jury that found the bros guilty of first-degree murder would deliberate after a second, smaller trial called the penalty phase to determine the bros' sentence.
Well, that began on March 22nd of 1996 and was completed in 3 weeks.
Damn.
The defense called 18 witnesses to testify on behalf of the brothers. The rules of evidence were different in the penalty phase than at the brothers' trial. Since jurors are being asked to make a life or death decision, literally, the defense was permitted to appeal the jury's sympathy. The rules allowed the defense to offer evidence of mitigating factors such as the brothers' ages, whether they were under the influence of extreme mental or emotional distress, whether the victims were participants in their own deaths, and any other evidence that diminished the gravity of the crime.
Really? Wow.
But they weren't allowed to do it in the actual trial.
Right.
So dumb.
Well, 4th of April, during the second week of penalty phase, an unexpected and stunning thing happened in court. Dr. Vickery, the psychiatrist who had treated Eric since 1990, admitted that he doctored his notes at the direction of Leslie Abramson.
Oh, no.
no. Under cross-examination, Vickery admitted that he omitted from his notes entire sections containing incriminating statements by Eric Menendez.
Oh, wow.
This incident had major ramifications for the
I
defense.
bet it did.
On April 5th, Abramson revoked her Fifth Amendment privilege not to incriminate herself when she refused to answer 2 questions about her possible misconduct regarding Vickery's notes. I plead the Fifth, she says.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, after hearing arguments outside the presence of the jury, Judge Weisberg rejected defense motions for mistrial for both brothers.
Right.
Defense had tried to argue that a mistrial should have been declared because of Abramson's ineffective assistance of counsel. Right.
Right. That could have worked.
Weisberg ruled that Lyle could not make that argument because Abramson was not his lawyer, but Eric could.
Right.
Weisberg also ruled that Barry Levine was perfectly capable of taking over Eric's case
there you go.
if Abramson decided not to continue to participate in the proceedings.
There you go.
All right.
April 6th, Kahn told the court how he learned about the deleted notes. Kahn said that in 1993, Abramson had turned over to him the redacted version of Vickery's notes. At some point during the trial, Kahn needed to review the notes at the Van Nuys courthouse, but had left his copy in his office in downtown L.A. Kahn borrowed a copy of the notes from Dr. Dietz, who had received a copy from the defense. Somehow, Dietz had been given a copy of the original notes.
Oh, no.
Kahn said that Abramson turned over the originals by accident, and had it not been for this mistake, no one would have noticed this discrepancy. Vickery had deleted 24 pages of statements Eric had made to him and rewrote 10 pages of notes.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy shit there, boys.
The notes contained incriminating evidence against Eric. One of the sections noted that he told Vickery that he thought about it He thought about what it would be like to live without his parents. Another section, Eric told Vickery that he and Lyle discussed doing something drastic, but the notes do not specify exactly what is meant.
Right.
Another section, Eric told Vickery that Jose's homosexual lover visited the mansion 2 days before the murders occurred and told the brothers that their parents were going to kill them. Vickery later admitted that Eric told him the story was a lie.
Right, definitely, clearly.
Right.
First time hearing this.
Right.
April 9th, Judge Weisberg ruled that a conflict did not exist between Leslie Aberson and Eric Menendez, and that would necessitate her removal from the trial.
Jeez.
Really? The ruling following 2 days of closed-door hearings during which Gessler and Levine sought to have Aberson removed. It was only after Eric Menendez spoke to Weisberg behind closed doors that Aberson was allowed to stay.
He's like, no, man, this is my boo-boo.
I need her.
My boo. She picks the lint off my sweaters.
Right. Weisberg said that he would instruct the jury not to consider Aberson's alleged actions of misconduct when deciding whether the bros should be sentenced to death or life in prison. I mean, you can tell them that, but are they gonna-
right.
Weisberg also ruled that the prosecution could not ask Vickery about Aberson's order to delete his notes. Instead, Weisberg directed, see, he's going back and forth here.
Yeah, he's a weirdo.
This judge is weird. Instead, Weisberg directed the prosecutors to impeach Vickery's testimony without making any references to Aberson. Leslie Aberson remained silent throughout the remainder of the trial. She didn't
I bet
say
she did.
shit.
April 10th, Vickery concluded his testimony and the prosecution presented 3 rebuttal witnesses, Les Zoller and Kitty's 2 brothers, Milton and Brian, the Andersons.
Right.
April 11th, David Kahn gave his closing argument. He argued that the Menendez brothers should be sentenced to death because they chose to kill their parents in a horrifying and brutal way.
Right. Good
He
poison
ridiculed the
or something.
defense allegations of psychological abuse, saying that the allegations were desperate and trivial.
Hey. In his closing argument, Barry Levine accused the L.A. County District Attorney's Office of arbitrarily deciding who was eligible for the death penalty. Right. He reminded the jury of the O.J. Simpson case and said he's not even eligible for the death penalty. Wow.
It's true, he wasn't.
No. Levine told the jury, he should have been. Levine told the jury that the prosecution had not presented evidence of aggravating circumstances other than the crime itself. April 12th, the jury began to deliberate whether the Menendez bros should be sentenced to life in prison or sentenced to life in death.
Right. April 17th, 1996, after deliberating for 3 days, the jury decided that life in prison was the appropriate punishment for Lyle and Eric. The jury later said that the abuse defense was never a factor in their deliberations. The jury decided to spare the brothers' lives because neither brother had a felony record or a history of violence. Although some jurors said they were sympathetic to the brothers' upbringing and that it may have contributed to the murders being committed, in the end they could not excuse it.
Right.
Several of the jurors believed some of the evidence of psychological abuse, but questioned whether the sexual abuse occurred.
Right. Yeah, I believe the psychological for sure.
Right.
Unlike the first trial, where 2 separate juries could not agree on whether the bros committed murder or manslaughter, the jurors in the retrial said that there was never any division or dissent, and there were no holdouts. None of the jurors believed the defense theory that the bros killed because they were afraid.
That's because the defense wasn't even allowed to present half their fucking witnesses. Dude.
Very true. And the jurors did not believe that the bros killed solely to get their hands on the parents' money.
June 1st, defense attorneys for the Menendez brothers filed a motion in Judge Weisberg's court seeking a new trial. Motion argued that Judge Weisberg erred when he refused to allow the jury to consider manslaughter verdicts,
Right.
I guess. The motion also claimed that Judge Weisberg erred when he allowed jurors to hear the December 11th tape of them confessing to Dr. Ozio. The motion also claimed that Weisberg erred when he limited the number of defense witnesses who testified. That's what I'm saying, dude.
Right.
I bet you he denies the retrial, too.
Well, prior to being formally sentenced on July 2nd, 1996, Lyle and Eric gave an interview to Barbara Walters for the television program 2020. You guys can watch that on YouTube. The purpose of the interview was to gain public support for the bros to be in prison together.
Oh, jeez.
A committee of California state correction officials ultimately made the decision of whether to imprison the bros together or not. David Kahn said that he had no position on whether the bros
He's
were
like,
in
you
prison.
don't give. Why do I
Right.
care?
As long as they did not receive any special treatment. On July 2nd, 1996, Judge Weisberg sentenced Lyle and Eric.
Menendez.
He sentenced Lyle and Eric Menendez to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Judge Weisberg sentenced the bros to consecutive sentences for the Moitas and the charge of conspiracy to commit Moita.
Consecutive, not concurrent, which means
Right.
one after another.
A few weeks after the sentences were announced, Lyle and Eric were taken to North Kern State Prison at Delano, a Department of Corrections reception center outside L.A., for a diagnostic evaluation. A decision whether the bros were to be imprisoned together was made after the evaluation was to be completed.
Well, August 2nd, 96, William Vickery was removed from the panel of mental health professionals appointed by L.A. Superior County judges to analyze and testify about defendants in court cases.
I bet he was.
I bet so. 10 mentioned that Aberson better be disbarred, too.
He ain't kidding.
A 10-member committee made up of Superior Court judges reviewed the scripts of the Menendez brothers' retrial, decided that Vickery's continued participation on the panel was inappropriate.
Very.
Later, the California State Medical Board sued Vickery in an attempt to revoke his license. He was able to reach an agreement with the medical board to retain his license after admitting he acted unethically during the Menendez
Right.
case.
All you got to do is say you're sorry,
Right,
buddy.
I'm sorry.
Right. On the 10th of September, 1996, the California...
Do you remember?
It was the 10th of December, but it was actually September. The California Department of Corrections separated the Menendez bros.
Oh.
Lyle was bused from North Kern State Prison to California Correctional Institution near Tehachapi, and Eric was bused to California State Prison near Sacramento. Lyle and Eric were segregated from other prisoners, were classified as maximum security inmates. Leslie Aberson was critical of the Department of Corrections' decision to separate the bros and said that the move was unduly cruel and punitive. On the other hand, Les Zoller said that he was pleased the bros were finally apart. He also added, I think by putting them together, everybody's at risk. October 13th, 1997, after an 11-month investigation, Leslie Aberson learned that she would not be prosecuted by the LA District Attorney's Office for requesting that Dr. Vickery delete sections of his notes during a retrial of the bros. Also in 1997, Dr. Ozio surrendered his psychotherapist license and moved from California to another state.
Yeah, just to practice it over there, huh?
Yeah, he's like, I'm out.
February 27th, 98, the California Court of Appeals upheld the murder convictions of Lyle and Eric.
Nice.
Court's opinion established no new precedents and found that Judge Weisberg made no errors in a series of controversial rulings that limited the defense testimony about the brothers' upbringing and mental states during the retrial.
It was kind
But
of
he didn't, though.
Yeah.
The opinion was not published in official law reports and indicated the justices on the Court of Appeals did not intend to create any legal precedents that could apply to future cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're like, we don't even want this trial on record,
Right.
pretty much.
28th of March, 1998, the California Supreme Court voted to uphold the murder convictions of life without parole for both the Menendez bros. None of the Supreme Court justices voted to review the case. They're like, well, I don't even want to look at it. Lyle's appellate lawyer, Cliff Gardner, said that he planned to file an appeal in federal court.
Well, both brothers filed habeas corpus petitions with the Supreme Court of California,
Why would you not, right?
which were denied in 1999.
Yeah, exactly.
Having exhausted their appeal remedies in state court, they filed separate habeas corpus petitions in the United States District Court. March 4, 2003, a magistrate judge recommended the denial of the petitions, and the district court adopted the recommendation. They then decided to appeal to the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. September 7, 2005, a 3-judge panel denied both their habeas corpus petitions, although Judge Alex Kaczynski stated that the trial judge changed many of his rulings during the 2 trials.
Right.
He did.
He did.
And with that,
Oh, my.
we have finally come to a close on
They
the
should put that-
Menendez murder.
They should put that Tammy chick on trial or some kind of psychiatric freaking evaluations. You a moron?
Why is Lyle not doing nothing?
Right, where's Lyle? Not doing nothing. Yeah, there's some weird stuff happening in the trial and all, but I do believe that no, they got what they got.
I don't think I believe the sexual molestation
No.
stuff at all.
No.
Clearly,
No.
from what we've learned about Jose
Right.
and Kitty, they were
Right.
both piece of shit parents.
Right.
Kind of, I guess. They were strict as fuck.
Right.
But Jose was clearly abusive.
Right.
But
Mentally. Maybe
I don't
physically
agree with the
sometimes.
whole line and weight theory that they got convicted on because they didn't lie and wait at all.
They knew what they had to do. Go away
Other
for the
than
night,
that,
come back in the night. at
and
night.
the judge screwed them in the second trial.
Yeah.
Could have went totally different.
right.
So I don't know, dude.
It was politics, like you said. OJ got off. The other one got off.
Right.
Rough stuff here, guys.
It's crazy.
The old Menendez bros. Crazy
Menendez
stuff.
bros.
I remember. Do you remember?
That'll do it for us. Go check out patreon.com/bang dang if you want all of these episodes in video. We started doing Patreon videos with the first Menendez episode. So, yeah, $2 a month for this, Battles of the American Civil War, and This Week in Sports History, all in video, all for $2 a month, unedited, ad-free, and at least 2 days early. So go check that out. Go to our YouTube And subscribe to that at Bang Dang Network, where not only do we do little show clips and little YouTube shorts on there, but we started a darts series where we play a season of darts, film it, talk a little shit while we're doing it, and pretty fun stuff. So if you're a dart lover, that's pretty cool.
Right.
and other than that, we will be back next week for probably the opening episode of Waco, because we're coming up on the 30th anniversary of that as well. Like I said, patreon.com/bangdang, and we'll be back where the mother is.
Bang dang.